Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down, but the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Just because I let it slide doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart until it's almost wide. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.
Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs report. It's the Sports Lab. I'm your host, Jimmy Wood, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet? guys? What's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here live nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. On tonight's show, we will have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28, Mr. Al Keck on with us, breaking down that Bucs loss versus the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday, 27-24. Get his thoughts. We'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, on at 10 o'clock, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It's Sports Mag. And then, of course, your phone call, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. How do we start off the Sports Web? Because people say this is the longest intro, but what do we always say? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. And by the way, Mikey, I make it long for you because it's worth waiting for. You guys watch my show. I don't watch your show. If this is the way we're going to start off today, let's play this game. But remember, when you troll me, just be sure to understand that I'm going to troll you back even harder because I'm an overachiever. And I'm a little bit disappointed with the Bucs loss. And I want to know from you guys tonight, the webheads out there, are you happy with the 7-5 record? Are you disappointed? What do you think about it? Give me your thoughts. Are you concerned about it? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on, the man himself, the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And it would be nice to talk about a win, but once again, we're talking about a Bucs loss, albeit after coming back, just falling short, much like they did versus the LA Rams. How you doing tonight?
I'm well. And, you know, I'm kind of like I was last week as well. You know, not really sure what's going on with this team. But we really kind of need to dive into the numbers a little bit. You know, going into this season, Peter, and I know one of your topics is going to be, are you happy at 7-5? Are you disappointed at 7-5? And one of the things I want to bring up is going into this season, what did you honestly believe the Buccaneers would be during the regular season at the end of the season?
I thought they'd be 13-3. I thought it was certainly possible. I was on the Colin Cowherd train there with all the talent, and then especially getting Antonio Brown in the middle of the season. I would have been I'm still be happy with 10 or 11 wins, but I thought with Tom Brady coming here, with the defense being invigorated, that they would be at least 11 to 12 win team, and they certainly have the opportunity to do it. I think the most disappointing thing for me to get into it is that we've seen this team and what they can do. We've seen the potential. They beat Green Bay. They beat the Raiders. They handled the Panthers. In some stretches, they could be the best team in the NFC, let alone the best team in the NFL. And yet you see the slow starts that they've had lately. You see the disappointing games versus the New Orleans Saints. You see the disappointing starts versus the Rams and the Chiefs yesterday. Completely embarrassing effort defensively. Offensively, you have Tom Brady, you have Antonio Brown and Mike Evans, and I get it. People are saying, well, you missed training camp and you missed the 400 reps, but we kind of heard some of the same stuff last year, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe this is not just all on the players, that it could be on the coaches. What do you say?
Well, we need, as frustrating as it was for me to watch at times yesterday, and a lot of these games have been frustrating to watch. In my opinion, you just have to pull back and really look at what the situation is. And quite honestly, I thought they'd go 11-5, 10-6. And 11-5, 10-6, I thought was good enough to make the playoffs. Well, obviously, right now at 7-5, they still have an opportunity to do exactly that. And especially considering you play Minnesota, Atlanta twice, in Detroit. Minnesota is improving. Atlanta is downright dangerous right now, and especially with the way that they won big yesterday. And Detroit, you know, they're a wild card because people are playing for their jobs. They've already fired the coach and general manager. But those are your last 4 or 5 games. Okay. Or, last 4 games anyway. And when you rate that out, they have one of the easier schedules right now in the National Football League over these last 4 games. I believe it's number 7 now in the league as far as difficulty, as far as being easy is concerned. But as I look at this, I start thinking, you know what? This is the 45th year of this franchise. They've played football for 45 years, and I've been here since 1988. And I can honestly say I haven't seen that many 7-5 seasons or 7-5 records, 13 games, 12 games into a season. So I went back and looked, and how many seasons do you think they had with 10 or more wins that they've had in their history? Any idea?
I would say, let me go ahead and just think about this for a minute. I would say 79. They were 10-6. I would say 1980. They may have been 9-7, so that doesn't count. 1997, they were 10-6. 1999, they were 11-5. 2002, they were 12-4, and that's when they won the Super Bowl. 2005, I believe they were 11-5. And let me see here. The last time they had 10 wins, I would say with 2010, 10-6.
Okay, but how many times? How many times do you think, total?
70. I would say 5 to 6 times they've had double digits.
It's 7 times.
7 times.
So that's a really good guess. But 7 times in 45 years.
Okay.
So, and only 3 times have they had more than, I think, 11 wins. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and again, the 12-4 is the record that is their best record ever. And that came in the Super Bowl year.
Right.
But all that being said is that's in 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this team is still on pace for a historic season. If they end up 11-5 or even 10-6, they're going to be in the playoffs, even though they lost to Kansas City this weekend. And it was a frustrating loss. They weren't hurt in the standings. They weren't hurt at all. When the weekend, basically when this weekend is over, they will be in the same spot that they were going in. So while they could have gained some ground, they didn't lose ground. Now, to kind of put this into perspective, the Seattle Seahawks came in the same time that the Buccaneers did, and they have 12 seasons of at least 10 wins or more. They've been to the Super Bowl 3 times as opposed to 1 time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So my point is this. Historically, they can still have the type of season that they want to have, and they can still they're still very possible that they can accomplish everything they want to accomplish. This is just called the regular season and getting through it. All that being said, I can, if I see the back of Carlton Davis one more time, I'm going to scream. If I see, and Mike Evans had a decent fourth quarter yesterday, but if I see him pushing off and getting frustrated with defensive backs and wanting to fight them more than just going out and trying to get in the flow of a game, I'm gonna scream. And all the things that are happening with this football team right now, we need to remember that we're watching absolutely every snap of this season. And so it just becomes one big, long eyesore when you watch it that long. And if you go back to 30,000 feet view, look up, and from there, they can still do everything they want to do. I don't like the 7-5 record because I think they should have beat the Bears. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, with a better effort last week and this week, they may have won those games too, And so I would have liked to have seen, better stuff. But all they want to do this year, because believe me, there will not be a home field advantage for any team in these playoffs. You just want to get to the playoffs. And that's when you want to play well. So just get to the playoffs. I mean, there's a good chance that come playoff time, everyone's in a bubble. Right. So who knows where they will be playing? I can guarantee you that the National Football League has a bunch of ideas, and they're going to come out with the best idea that they possibly can. We saw the way it worked in the NBA. We saw the way it worked in baseball. So once they get towards the end of the year, it will be all about the bubbles, and then it'll be more about football.
And look, I don't have any problem with that. But my thing is the effort, what you just said, the effort. What I have a problem with is that we're still seeing the same type of things that we saw last year. You have Tom Brady here, and yet you're struggling on offense. You have Tom Brady here, but yet you're struggling to find an identity. You don't run the ball enough. They didn't run the ball yesterday enough. I keep on saying it, the victim of volume, 9 carries for 66 yards. And now Bruce Arians comes out today and says, well, we want to give we should give Jones the ball 20 times. Do you think? I mean, this is what we're kind of talking about, and we're in what, week 13? Shouldn't this team already have some of this stuff figured out? Shouldn't this coaching staff have a plan figured out already? Why do I continue to see pressure from this offensive line? Why do I continue to see Tom Brady throw the ball down the field and not be accurate, although he was a little bit better than he was last week versus the Rams? Why do I continue to see dysfunction defensively? Why do I continue to see it? I get it. They didn't have the reps, but when does those excuses go out the door? And I get what you're saying. They have an easy schedule, but you still have to play those teams. And with the lack of effort, the last couple games here, I'm not necessarily on board with this because I haven't seen it being put on the field. I hear a lot of talk, and I'm hoping they use this bye week to correct some of these mistakes, and they can definitely do that. But I expected a little bit more, and I think there's fans out there that are a little bit disappointed because of the level of talent. You look at those teams in the past. Would you not say on paper, just on paper alone, that this could be the most talented team the Bucs have ever had offensively?
Oh, I would think absolutely on paper. But, you know, you bring up a lot of different points here, and we'll try to hit this. First of all, your favorite player, Ronald Jones, the victim of volume. Did you notice he wasn't in? You talk about the 9 carries, and he made an explosive play on the touchdown, cutting down the sideline and going in for the touchdown. Very explosive. Right. But where was he in the fourth quarter? He wasn't on the field. Because on the second interception that Brady threw, he totally whiffed on a block and didn't protect Brady. And that had a lot to do with the interception. In fact, I'll say that the Chiefs schemed for that specifically, that Tyrann Mathieu went right through the spot where Rojo was standing and went right around him, and Rojo put up the ultimate Ole block. So that's why he only got 9 carries, and that's why he wasn't in the fourth quarter. Leonard Fournette isn't doing all that much, but I think Bruce Arians believes that when you're behind and you're trying to come back, that he can count more on Fournette because of more things that he can do than Ronald Jones. And Ronald Jones has been here long enough to understand the blocking schemes for a running back and what he needs to do. He continues to make those dumbass mistakes. And as long as he does, he's going to get just bit parts. And no matter, and I don't care if he's the leading rusher right now in the National Football League. If you're going to get your quarterback killed in the fourth quarter when you're trying to make a comeback because you can't make a block and block a guy that's 20 pounds lighter than you are and much shorter than you, then you can't trust that guy. Now,
well, I don't know if you could trust Fournette because Fournette did the same thing when Brady went down the field. The only difference is that Brady completed the ball to Godwin. But if you watch the replay, Leonard Fournette has also blown some blocks. And this is the thing I don't understand about this coaching staff. When you're running with a hot hand, why in the world do you put in Leonard Fournette for the first 2 downs, basically gain nothing, and that's why you have to settle for a field goal. So whatever Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich are believing is not necessarily coming to fruition. So he may be my favorite player, but the reason why I want to see him on the field is because I feel like he gives the Bucs the best chance to win. And if you look at the stats, and we're looking at stats alone, Ronald Jones is superior right now to Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette has a name. Ronald Jones is putting up the numbers. He's third in the NFL in rushing, and it's a damn shame that the Bucs don't know how to use him. And they did the exact same thing last year. And I get it. He's been in the system for a year, but still he gives you the best chance to win. He's your Derrick Henry. He's your bell cow runner, and yet continually the Bucs decide to go away from him, and it doesn't make any sense to me. That's what I don't understand. And that's
because they can't trust him. They can't trust him. I mean, believe me, they see the explosiveness in Ronald Jones, and there is explosive talent there. All that being said, why did they then, hours after Leonard Fournette was available, do everything they could to get him? Because they didn't trust Ronald Jones. So Ronald Jones, instead of being worried about what this coaching staff is doing, and I'm going to tell you a quick story about this in a second, but Ronald Jones has got to figure out, if he wants to be a back in this National Football League, that it takes all kinds of stuff. And Leonard Fournette, quite honestly, even though he missed a block yesterday, that has been a rare occurrence compared to Ronald Jones. So I remember working in San Diego and covering the San Diego Chargers. And at that time, in the early 80s, late 70s, around in there, the San Diego Chargers easily had probably the number one offense in the AFC with Eric Coryell and Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow and Wes Chandler and Charlie Joyner. I mean, the list, Chuck Muncie, the list goes on and on. And Dan Fouts was perpetually hurt every single game. And so he would very rarely practice during the week. And he would still come out and play like you wouldn't believe on Sundays, as long as Kellen Winslow was there, as long as Wes Chandler was there, and Charlie Joyner. They would put up their 45 points, 45, 48 points, and go from there. And even though he hadn't practiced during the week, Dan Fouts would still play well on Sundays because he made plays. And he would have success as long as Chandler and Kellen Winslow and West, and those other guys were there, Charlie Joyner, because they made plays. Mm-hmm. So more than anything else, what I've learned now, it's nice to have a nice scheme and a nice offense and a nice philosophy and knowing who you are and what you want to do and all that stuff. Okay. Establishing an identity. Bottom line, guys have to make plays. If they don't make plays, that offense means nothing. So it's not just Brady, and it's not just Ronald Jones, but we heard Tony Romo yesterday talk about it ad nauseum. These guys are making little mistakes, and these little mistakes at this time of year is coming back to haunt them big time. So hopefully this bye week means you're going to come in for a little bit of practice and work on these things and stop eliminating these mistakes. Because right now, especially in that first half, do you realize, and I saw this stat in the paper today, I knew it was something horrid, but the Bucs have been outscored in the first quarter 49-7 over these last 4 games.
Yeah, that's coaching. That's coaching right there. That's what the most frustrating thing about this, because this goes back to last year. People were talking about Jameis Winston starting out slow, and maybe he was, or maybe it's just the coaching staff. Maybe it's a Byron Leftwich and a Bruce Arians, and yet you have a coach that gets up on there and is blaming other players instead of himself. This guy needs to take a look in the mirror. Really, honestly.
Well, and I have a theory about that as well. I'll get to here in a second.
Yeah.
But getting outscored 49-7, also during that time, you do realize that over the 4 games, they only have 7 first downs in the first quarter.
Right.
During that time. So obviously, they're getting off to horrible starts. Now, last year, they would get off to a horrible start, but usually it was because there was an interception by Jameis on the opening drive. So they were already behind the 8 ball there. And, last year the defense is playing a little bit better at this time of the year in that, they weren't giving up the huge points that they're giving up to teams like the LA Rams and New Orleans and Kansas City right now. So, and as far as Arians saying what he's saying, I can guarantee you that Arians and Brady have had a conversation. And Arians is going to say, and Arians has told him, I am going to lay into you when you make mistakes tougher than you've, especially out in public, more so than you've ever been, because the other guys need that. Now, can I do that with you? And if I can, just trust me. Okay. And I'm sure behind the scenes, they have much the same conversation about his mistakes, but there's more of a give and take there instead of, well, guys are open, he's making the throws in practice. And because it ain't that simple, I'm sure that they've talked about this, and I'm sure Brady has said, say what you want, because really what Arians says means absolutely nothing to the media, means nothing. Okay. It's what's said in the meetings. And I'm sure that there is a hint of the same type of thing, but no one has to tell Brady this. Mm-hmm. Brady knows this better than anybody out there. And he also knows that some of the reasons have to do with the offensive line, and some of the reasons have to do with guys running wrong routes, and some of the reasons have to go with, not running the ball enough, and, all these things. But what we need to do is pull back. Do you realize Tom Brady, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions so far this year?
Correct.
Do you realize that is already the second best passing effort in the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Now, have they had great quarterbacks? No. But the only season that's better than that was last season from Jameis. And,
right.
What's his name? Tom Brady is not that far away from beating those numbers.
Of course.
And should probably beat those numbers with a couple of games to go. But right. If someone had said to you coming into the season, hey, I'll tell you what, would you be happy with Brady with 35 touchdown passes and, 16 interceptions? Yeah. You'd say, absolutely. I'd take that in a heartbeat. Well, if you listen to everybody on radio, on the postgame show last night, if you listen to, the pundits today, you'd think that Tom Brady was one of the worst quarterbacks in the National Football League. But we tend to judge Brady about what he's done before. And really, when you look at the numbers, 28 touchdown passes, which is among the top, I think, 4 in the league right now.
Sure.
And 11 interceptions, that's still among the best in football right now. So, and he hasn't performed well against some teams, so, bottom line, they're 7-5. There are 4 games left in the regular season. They go 10-6. I don't think they can beat Atlanta twice because Atlanta's really playing well right now. And you don't think Atlanta is cranked up about playing the Buccaneers with Raheem Morris. I can guarantee it. Sure. So I think they will split with them. So the Buccaneers have got to beat Minnesota and Detroit and 1 game from Atlanta. Now, if they can't do that, even if they add another team in the playoffs in each conference, the Buccaneers don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
I agree.
They really don't.
I agree.
And if that happens, then there's going to be plenty of questions. Okay. Question number 1, Tom, are you coming back next year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no guarantee that Tom's going to play next year. And if they go 9-7 and miss the playoffs, there's going to be some serious talking going on as to bringing Brady back. And I think that's important, at least for the second year. Okay. Question number 2 will be, is Bruce Arians going to be the coach? Because if they go 9-7 with this talent and don't make the playoffs, there's going to be some serious explaining to do. And, you know, if that were to happen, you don't think, especially with Tom getting, you know, Gronk coming back and AB on this, that you don't think he would go to Josh McDaniels in New England and say, you know, come on down here. Come on down. If I'm playing well, sign another I'll go year to year with you. Okay. Bring that offense down here. We've got the pieces. We got better pieces than what we had, and we can make this happen. Okay. You don't think that would be a possibility? I'm not saying that Bruce Arians should be fired, but to me, that could be a worst case scenario.
Well, that's why I'm looking right now. Again, you know, that's where I think the fans' frustration is. You're 7-5, and you even said it best. The effort needs to be there. You could have won the last 2 games. You wouldn't be in 7-5. And I think, look, if you don't make it to the playoffs, you're exactly right. There's going to definitely be some explaining to do. And it's going to start with Bruce Arians, and it's going to come from the top, from the Glazers, because most likely the Glazers want to keep Tom Brady happy. And there's reports that, you know, he may not necessarily be happy. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go out to the webheads, read some of these comments, and then we'll get back to it. Is this the Peter Blake Show? It is the Sports Web. Longest intro in the game. Just for you, Mike. I appreciate that. The legend Al is in the house. Tom Kent says, called it when they signed Brady. Same outcome as 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. We're getting good at wasting money because Tom has already ended the season, guys. Tom Kent has already ended the season. He has missed Cleo tonight. He has basically said the season is over with without even playing the games. And these are the type of fans that I love. You got to pat yourself on the back so freaking hard. What are you getting at? What are you getting out of there? Are you getting any money from Vegas? Are you getting anything from DraftKings for patting yourself on the back with the misery that you're basically trying to put out there to other Bucs fans? You're getting absolutely nothing. Mike says Super Bowl or bust. I did say it. I'm not backing off on it. With the talent, could you not see Super Bowl or bust? Oh, that's right. You're a Winston fan, or you're a guy that says there's no way the Bucs can be competitive any year. Any year, Bucs are losers in your eyes. In your opinion, you just want to be miserable. That's how it goes. Roy says play calling has been terrible. Agree. Tom says top-tier teams always expose the truth. Agree with that. It's the coaching. It has been somewhat of the coaching. I'm excited about the 7-5, but I actually wanted us to win the South. Most likely not going to happen. You know why? Because they're not good enough, and they've been outcoached by the New Orleans Saints. The fact is the proof is in the pudding. We were led to believe we had one problem. I was expecting a first-round bye. I don't think anybody saying this, we were led to believe that there was one problem. You have not been watching this show. And I will repeat it. You have not been watching the show. I said last year it wasn't just the quarterback problem, it was the offensive line, which they had to correct, which they did to a certain degree. But you still have problems. You have problems with play calling, and you have problems with commitment to the run game. And then, oh, by the way, your defense is inconsistent. So it wasn't just you or me leading you to one problem. Whoever led you to that, that's your damn fault because you're naive to believe that crap. But don't come on this show and say you were led to believe it was one problem. It was never one problem. There were a multitude of problems. A multitude. Ray Kennedy says, what's up, Pat? Harry Berg, 6-second that. Anthony says, I'm a little upset with the D-line. I think Vita Vea being out there has been a big-time injury that a lot of people kind of able to create. It is kind of opened up those guys on the outside. Now you don't have that. That's where the defensive line has suffered. Do you agree?
Well, Vita Vea was probably the second or third best player on this team. You know, when you think about it, and what he means to that particular unit and what he does. So anytime you lose that, although I will say this, and I've been a critic of Jason Light, he went right out and found another guy and found a guy to replace him. And he's not Vita Vea, but he's still serviceable. Okay. So, you know, there have been, obviously yesterday, they were not able to get the pressure on Patrick Mahomes, but he is Patrick Mahomes. You know, the linebackers are still, you know, among the best in the NFL as far as a crew's concerned. but, they made some mistakes as well. And then that young secondary, I mean, Carlton Davis was simply torched.
Yeah.
Simply torched. And, people want to make the point that, well, what, they adjusted in the second half. And, he really didn't, whatever his name is, he really didn't make plays in the second half. Well, the reason is because they had 230 some odd yards in the first half, and they had a fairly sizable lead. And Kansas City is thinking, we've got that anytime we need it, but we're not going to take a chance here and let this guy get hurt, with going deep again. And so they simply pulled it back. And Kansas City still had other opportunities with other receivers that simply didn't make a play, So, believe me, if the game had gone to overtime, they would have gone deep again to Tyreek Hill. And I'm sure we would have seen the back of Carlton Davis's jersey again.
Right.
So, it wasn't that the Buccaneers made all that big adjustment in the second half. It's more about Kansas City pulling back the reins and saying, we're not going to use this all up in this particular game.
Well, and it's also, why does it take so long for the coaches to make that adjustment? Why do you feel like Carlton Davis is going to play man-on-man on Tyreek Hill? Why don't you have somebody over the top? Why does it take this coaching staff so long to adjust? It's happened last year. It's happened this year. They get off to slow starts, not only offensively, but defensively. They get off to slow starts with making adjustments. Why does it take so long for this coaching staff to make the necessary adjustments? Why does it have to come down to when the Bucs are down 20-10 or 27-10 then that's when it starts to become urgent? There's not enough urgency on this team. And that starts with coaching. That starts with Bruce Arians. That starts with Byron Leftwich. That starts with Todd Bowles. It's all there.
Well, I go back to the Packer game. Okay. We didn't hear much about urgency then, even though they had a horrible first quarter.
Right.
And a lot of the adjustments and everything that you're talking about, they're doing the same thing as they did against the Packers. Okay. So this isn't, and please understand what I'm saying here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been frustrated as well watching these games, thinking there's got to be something. There's got to be something these guys are going to do. But after the Packer game, all we heard about was how Todd Bowles was going to get another opportunity to be a head coach. And Byron Leftwich might just be the perfect candidate to go back to Jacksonville and, being a former quarterback, to be a head coach there. We were hearing these same type of things. Now that it's later in the season and they've lost to some teams that, was frustrating watching, especially early on in these games, now all of a sudden we want coaches' heads. And I can't stress enough, okay? It ain't about the coaches. It's about the horses. Okay. The horses have to start making some plays.
Well, I agree with that, but also the coaches have to put them in good positions to make plays. And if you think that putting Carlton Davis on Tyreek Hill, who's one of the fastest wide receivers in the league, one-on-one coverage, and continue to do that in the first half, and then you make the adjustment in the second half, I don't know what you're thinking at that point. At that point, that horse is dead. That's a donkey at that point. So to me, I think they believed, okay, we're going to pick our poison here. And we think our best cover guy on this team is Carlton Davis. Now, we know he's going to have to cover Tyreek Hill, but we think he may have a better shot at that, maybe with some safety over the top help, even though they only had one back there. Mm-hmm.
But, maybe that's going to work better for us than trying to have one of our smaller defensive backs and or a linebacker trying to deal over the middle with Travis Kelce. So it's, do you want to die because of a gunshot wound or getting stabbed? And so I think I don't agree with that, as we saw. I don't agree with what they did, but I think that was their thinking process. To me, that could be their only thinking process when they're doing that. Now, and I thought Tony Romo was great in saying, you got to move this. You got to either put another safety over here, or that safety really has to cheat.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thought process there. And I think they thought that Carlton Davis could handle that. And we clearly saw that he could not handle that. Now, in the second half, we didn't see that. Was that because the Buccaneers made just awesome adjustments? No. They just put that in their hip pocket. And they were going to pull that out until they had to, because they don't want to see Tyreek Hill get hurt. Okay. And you just don't know when something like that's going to happen. They thought they had the game in hand. Let's get, we've got this. Let's get out of here. And we'll save some of this for down the road against somebody else. And I think that was the thinking. But I agree with you. It's frustrating when you're seeing, just this team came out, not just, especially offensively, so flat, so nothing. So, again, 7 first downs in 4, that's 4 quarters.
Yeah. So
imagine a game where you only have 7 first downs in a game, how horrible that will be. That's how they have been playing. Those are the starts they've been getting off to. And again, 4 quarters, they're getting outscored 49-7. So that's like losing 49-7. Right. And you only have 7 first downs in the game. So they have got to find a way, and hopefully this bye week will help them do this. They've got to find a way to hit that accelerator early on, which we have seen other times in the season when they have gotten off to a fast start. So the capability is there, but these guys have to start making plays, and they're not.
They're not. You're exactly right. We're on with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, here on the Sports Web. Call in if you have something to say. Are you disappointed with the 7-5 record, or are you happy with it? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me go ahead and go back out to the webheads here. If it was the coaching this year, then it was the coaching last year. Well, it was the coaching last year. Again, not watching this show. The one thing I thought was interesting I heard yesterday was BA's offense reads the defense after snap versus prior to snap. Also, little to no motion within the offense. Agree with that. Anthony says, not true, Al. I don't know what that's all about. Let's see. We beat the Rams last year, 55-40. Great point. Who cares? I'm sick of hearing that. You beat the Rams last year. Rams are a totally different team, just like the Bucs are a totally different team. If you want to continue to go with this narrative, the Bucs at this point last year, Mikey, were 4-7. Okay? There you go. That was your quarterback. They were 4-7. Same disease as last year. Still no cure, says Deontay Moore. I think we're okay for the playoffs. Well, again, effort has to be there. We will be touch out. I think he's saying quick out. The offense needs to be updated. Ron says need more 3-and-outs on the D. Agree with that. Timing is off with quarterback, and wide receiver coaching is not great as we have no balance. Exactly, which I continue. And again, Coach Arians' comments today, I don't think there's any doubt he needs to have 20 touches. Arians said to Carmen Vitale of Buccaneers.com. Jones had 103 yards on 10 touches. 10 touches, guys. 103 yards against the Chiefs. In that same point, Leonard Fournette's played 33 snaps to Jones's 21 on Sunday, and most of Fournette's playing time comes in passing situations. Fournette hasn't done much with the role. 28 catches for 171 yards, but Jones had a 37-yard touchdown. So this is where the frustration for me is, because I get it. You may have a fumble. You may have a drop pass from Ronald Jones, but at the end of the day, clearly on this team right now, Ronald Jones is your best threat to have the balance. And if you think that you don't need balance because you're good enough like Kansas City or you're good enough like the LA Rams, you're not, because your offensive line has been beleaguered with injuries. And also in those pressure situations where Brady feels that pressure, no touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And yet this offensive guru of quarterbacks and also this offensive coordinator continues to throw the ball. That's That's where the frustration is, and the same thing that happened last year. And they're not down a lot in these games. They weren't down in the Rams game. They were a little bit down in the Chiefs game, but once they got back in it, then you start to see them bombs away again. So need more first downs on first down. Fact of the matter, we got the talent to run the table. Just watch us make history. Just watch. Winning stops the negative talking. Look, you can talk all you want to. I'm not your cheerleader here, okay? I'm not here to get your pom-poms ready. I'm here to tell it like it is. If you don't like what I have to say, call up the phone lines or text on the line. If you don't have anything to add to the show, get the hell off. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. If you think that play yesterday was good enough, then you're sadly mistaken. Because if you're hanging your hat on the fact that Kansas City beats you and they're a Super Bowl team, then what chance do you have in the playoffs? What chance do you have against the Rams, which you lost to? Which chance do you have against the Saints, who you lost to? You have to have your best game. You have to make no mistakes, and you have to make the necessary adjustments, which none of this stuff has happened against the top teams in the NFL. That's not negative talk. That's a fact. Look it up. If you don't want to look it up, get out of here. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Nacho holding it down decently. Carlton Davis was hung out to dry with one safety deep. I'll tell you what. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Mr. Todd, you're leading it off here on the evolution of sports talk television. You're on with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck.
How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Listen, I told you about some stats last night, and I didn't have them exactly down.
Okay.
But I've got them now. And I want to give you these stats, and then I want to get your opinion and Al's opinion on this.
Okay.
Carson Palmer in his first year with Bruce Arians, 24 touchdowns, 22 interceptions.
Correct.
Andrew Luck, 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Big Ben had a pretty good year his first year there, and 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Tim Couch, 17 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Peyton Manning, with Bruce Arians in his first year, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. My question to you guys is it the offensive play calling and schemes that they are doing? And then everybody gets on Brady for throwing interceptions. I am really puzzled with all this.
Well, it's not really puzzling. I tell you what it is. It's not quarterback friendly. For a quarterback whisperer, he doesn't have an offense that's very quarterback friendly. And I think this is what it came down to, Al, talking about it in the offseason, the differing of philosophies. Who would win out? Of course, Coach Arians wants to run his offense, but as you know, when you're a coach, you have to adjust to your player's strengths. And if a player's strength is not to throw the ball down the field consistently, accurately, why do you continue to do it, Al?
I've said that all along. That is not what Tom Brady did in New England. That is throwing that long ball didn't win him those 6 Super Bowls.
No, I mean, he did it sporadically, but did he do it on almost every down? I mean, you look at the numbers, and we have some numbers here showing you what we're talking about. It was the short dink and duck offense. And with the receivers that you have and the weapons that you have on the outside, why can't this coaching staff put something together or either scale down the offense for the greatest of all time? And I don't understand it. It almost goes back to the point of what I always make with Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith is the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He comes in with a defensive mindset. But what he says is, well, Darrelle Revis is not a cover 2 corner. You can't fit Darrelle Revis in your defensive system, so you get rid of him. What happens? Revis goes to a system like the New England Patriots and wins a Super Bowl. And
right.
Lovie Smith looks like an idiot because he says that. Coaches that think that and have that mentality are not around for long. That's what the National Football League's not for long. Al, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've got to remember in those quarterbacks that you mentioned, Peyton Manning was very young. Andrew Luck was also younger. And those other quarterbacks, Ben was young. And those were really young quarterbacks. And you're taking a guy in Carson Palmer who had had only a handful of really successful years. And, you know, he struggled with that offense, you know, the first year or so.
Yes.
So my point is this, and please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. If we listen to ourselves here, I've been covering the National Football League for close to 40 years. This is the first and only time I've heard fans complain they're going downfield too often. They're throwing deep too much. What's with this guy?
Well,
I mean, you don't hear other teams, other fans say this. They want to see the ball go downfield. It's got to be a meeting of the minds here with all these guys coming together. And it's not just I'm making mistakes. It's other people making mistakes, like Rojo missing his blocks in the fourth quarter during a time when they're trying to make a comeback. And if you're wondering why they go away from him, it's exactly that. It doesn't matter how explosive he is.
They go with the same type of running back that makes the same type of mistakes. That's
not all the time, Peter. Not all the time. Not all the time. You watch the film, Peter, and there are more missed blocks from Rojo than you will ever see from
more snaps than Ronald Jones did last night and did less with more. That's the
But he didn't miss key blocks.
He did miss key blocks.
When he missed one.
He missed plenty. He's missed plenty all throughout the year.
Not like Rojo. Not like Rojo. Let me ask you this, Peter. Let me ask you this. Do you honestly think that this Bucs coaching staff would say, you know what? I know Rojo can play a little bit, and I know he can make, I know he's explosive. I don't like the guy. I just don't like the guy. So I'm going to let him get his touches, but when it's really crucial time, I'm going to go someplace else. They would like nothing more than for him to have that job and not even have to sign Leonard Fournette in the first place, because they could have spent that money on other things. It's because Ronald Jones doesn't know the little things in this game and the little things he has to do in order to be successful in this league.
On them, because they are the coaches and they are not getting him prepared to play. They did the same thing last year with going with Peyton Barber. They did it for 8 games. It took him 8 weeks to realize that he was the running back. How do you realize that Ronald Jones, who you drafted second round out of USC, who made all these 60-yard runs, that he's your running back? It takes you 9 weeks to realize it. And then, oh, by the way, he nearly got 1,000 yards because he was used the right manner. They're doing the same exact thing, and they're getting the same exact results.
Let me ask you this, Peter. What's more important, getting 1,000 yards or keeping your quarterback safe?
Winning games. And Ronald Jones.
Okay, you're going to do that by keeping your quarterback standing up, not by Ronald Jones getting 1,000 yards.
Fournette shouldn't be in the game because Leonard Fournette is missing even more blocks than Ronald Jones. And on top of it, he's not nearly as effective as Jones. I keep in mind here that Jones just a couple weeks ago had nearly 200 yards of rushing along with the 98-yard run. That wasn't Leonard Fournette the last time.
But you take that 100-yard run out, and what did he do? He averaged 4.3 yards per carry.
4.3.
Okay,
4.3.
That's not.
What is Leonard Fournette averaging? What is Leonard Fournette averaging?
Leonard Fournette averaged the same thing in that game
but he's getting
on
more
individual carries.
Right.
So he got more carries in that game.
And still,
Rojo did than Leonard Fournette against Carolina, but it was still 4.3, 4.4 yards per carry. And after that 100-yard run or the 98-yard run.
And still, Jones beat him in production. That's the point.
And but again, he has to do the little things in order to get the trust of his coach to use him. Do you really think that Bruce Arians would purposely not play him unless there was a reason that he didn't play him?
Well, then he didn't play him last year purposely, too. It took him 9 years to figure it out. You have one of the
because he couldn't protect then either and couldn't catch the ball coming out of the backfield.
You had one of the lowest rushing attacks last year, and it took you 9 weeks to figure out that was the running back that you should have ran with. And you're doing it again. And the guy is third in rushing. I get it. He has his drops. He has his fair share of mistakes. But Leonard Fournette has the same type of mistakes, and he's not doing anything with it. He's getting the carries. It doesn't make any sense. It's consistent with the coaching staff.
They brought Leonard Fournette in for insurance. You know why? Because of what Al said a while ago, Peter. I love Ronald Jones too. But they brought Leonard Fournette in because Bruce Arians wasn't for sure if Ronald Jones could be the guy or not.
Well, he said it. He said in all his press conferences this year that he believes that Rojo's the guy. Every time somebody questions about Fournette taking over the carries, he's my guy. He's my bell cow runner. And he says today we need to get him 20 touches. No stuff.
Well, do you know why he's saying that? Because I can guarantee you what he's saying.
Because he's
losing meetings. They're going over and they're looking at every play and they're saying, Rojo, look at this. You want to know why you're not playing in the fourth quarter? Because of this. Okay. And that stuff's got to get cleaned up because you're going to get your quarterback killed.
I'm not denying.
And that's more important than having a long run.
Well, the thing is, it is good to have a long run. It's good to have balance to your offense instead of throwing the ball 48 times. If you run the ball 20 times, then you cut down on those throws, which also you cut down on the pressure to Tom Brady. You help your quarterback out. That's the problem with this offense. That was the problem with Jameis Winston when he was here because there was no balance to the offense, and that's been the problem with Tom Brady. And that's where you have to be committed. And if Fournette's not getting it done and you're putting him in passing situations and he dropped 3 balls and was still in the game, what are you telling Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones drops 1 pass, you take him out of the game, you put Fournette in, he drops 3 passes and is still in there, and he's less productive? You give the ball to a guy that ran 192 yards versus the Panthers 10 times versus the Rams, and you think you're going to beat the Rams? They have one of the top passing defenses. It doesn't make any sense at all, Al. He gives you the best chance to win. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he gives you the best chance to win at the end of the day.
As long as he understands he's blocking assignments in the backfield. Because that may be every bit as important as running the football.
Well, Fournette needs to understand the same thing because I tell you right now.
He makes fewer mistakes in blocking. He makes fewer mistakes in blocking for Tom Brady. I mean, did you see the play on the interception? Did you see Jones's block?
Did you see the block of?
That's an NFL running back trying to protect his quarterback.
Did you see the block by Fournette or non-block when he threw the ball to Godwin? But nobody focuses on that because Brady completed the ball, but he had somebody right in his face. Fournette did the same exact thing. That's what people aren't understanding.
Okay, Peter. So why isn't Arians playing Rojo in the fourth quarter?
I have no idea.
Well, do you think there is a reason?
Well, maybe that's the reason why this team is 7-5 instead of 8-4 or 9-3 in the first place.
7-5 that is still one of the best records they've ever had here.
5 with weapons that you have. Come on, 7.
No, what I'm saying is this: Arians knows what he wants from his running back, and if he doesn't have Rojo out there after Rojo makes some explosive plays, there's got to be a reason.
Well, there may be a reason, but there was supposedly a reason last year and it didn't work out. And they went to Rojo and it seemed like their offense started to click. And when they go away from the run game, it's not just going away from Rojo, going away from Fournette altogether. You give the ball to Ronald Jones 9 times. You give the ball 19 times the last 2 weeks and you think you're going to win? You're not the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not the LA Rams. You're not a top offense yet. You know why? Because you're not balanced and you're not good enough. You're not good enough.
Let me ask you guys this.
Yes, Todd, go ahead.
If Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator, what do you think the Bucs record would be?
I think it would be a lot better because they would be able to adjust to Brady's strengths. And even with that being said, I know that Leonard Fournette most likely wouldn't be on the field as much as he is. Ronald Jones will probably be on the field because he's producing and he gives you the best chance to win. That's what it's about. It's not about playing favorites or names or all this other stuff. It's about giving you the best chance to win. And nobody can sit there and deny that Jones doesn't give you the best chance to win. You just can't.
You remember what Arians said about Winston all last year? When he would throw all those interceptions, he says, well, some of those interceptions weren't Jameis's fault. Well, it's the same thing with Tom Brady. Some of those interceptions, and everybody's all over Tom Brady. And all those interceptions that Brady have thrown this year, they're not all his fault. And I haven't heard Arians say that one time this year. So I personally think, and I've been a Bucs fan since '76. Al, you've been in the Tampa area a long time. I'm telling you, I think Arians needs to go.
Well,
I think he needs to go. I think he is the problem. He's not the solution. He's the problem, and he needs to go. And Byron Leftwich is not the right guy for the offensive coordinator job.
Well,
he's not helping Brady at all.
I tell you right now, if the point is, again, that the reason why you don't put Ronald Jones in the fourth quarter because he's not good in pass pro, neither is Leonard Fournette. Because you look at that tape, Fournette is not blocking his guys either. He's allowing his guys.
And Peter, do you think that's the reason they've lost these last 2 games?
I think the reason they lost the last 2 games is easy, Al, because they haven't been balanced. They're not a balanced team. They're a one-dimensional team.
Okay, what did they lose by last night?
They lost by 3, but it doesn't matter.
27-24 to one of the best teams in football.
And you got out-coached, too, by a better coach, and you also got outplayed. And also, it took them so long to come up with adjustments. And it's the same thing that happened against the Rams. I don't care how good they are. The Bucs have the talent to play anybody in the National Football League. The coaching is holding this team back. Whether nobody wants to admit it or not, the coaching is absolutely holding them back.
Well, we'll see. You don't think if they don't make the playoffs that the Glazers with $25 million going to Tom Brady next year? And believe me, the guy with the biggest Johnson walking around at $1 place ain't Bruce Arians.
No,
it's Tom Brady.
Right. Listen, do you want Tom Brady back next year, or you want Bruce Arians back?
I mean, I
don't know. We don't need to go there yet.
Right.
But that may be a question. But we have to get past this stuff about Rojo. I mean, my God, he's had enough time to take this job and win it. And he hasn't done it.
I don't think he has. I don't think he has, because first year in his system last year, he got in the 9th game of the season. Okay, this is his second.
He was in before the 9th game of the season, but he started blossoming about the 9th game of the season.
Because they gave him the opportunities. That's what it's about.
Because he stopped making mistakes, and they put him on the field. They trusted him then. But he still continues to make the same mistakes. Believe me, Peter. If he didn't make those mistakes, Bruce Arians would have him out there, and they wouldn't have spent more than $1 million on Leonard Fournette.
That's interesting, because Mike Evans seems like he makes a mistake every week by not running a good route or not knowing where he's supposed to be, and yet he still starts. So that's what I'm talking about. The accountability.
Okay, I want you to really think what you just said, because Mike Evans is probably one of the best players on this team and in the league.
He may be, but he also makes mistakes, does he not?
Absolutely. But he doesn't make the type of mistakes that are going to get your quarterback killed.
Oh, no. He makes the mistakes that cause turnovers for the quarterback. So
Not all the time. Not all the time.
Yeah, but sometimes he does make mistakes.
He does make mistakes. Absolutely. But what did Johnson say? Jimmy Johnson, who's one of the best coaches out there, would say, listen, if I'm in a meeting and some third string center falls asleep in the meeting, I cut his ass.
Okay.
Now, if Troy Aikman is in that meeting and he falls asleep, I get him a pillow. It's all about how good you are, and it's all about the production you bring, and it's all about where you land on this team. Mike Evans can make mistakes because he's one of their best players.
Okay.
And whatever mistakes he makes,
that point goes out,
lead to a turnover, but it's not going to get his quarterback killed.
That point goes out the door, though. That point goes out the door, because if you're talking about saying, well, Ronald Jones makes mistakes, and I'm gonna makes one mistake.
He makes crucial mistakes.
Evans makes
crucial mistakes
because he has more leeway in the league. You're not going to hold him to the same accountability.
No, you hold him accountable.
You don't hold him accountable, because Bruce Arians has never benched him for making a mistake. You bench Ronald Jones.
Because who are you going to bring in? You don't have guys that you can bring in. The Buccaneers have Leonard Fournette, who they had to pay $1 million for.
Oh, and he's
to
not
bring
good.
in.
And he's not good.
In their mind,
and he's not good.
They believe that he can still get the job done.
He's not good.
Do you think they really wanted to pay $1 million for Leonard Fournette?
Look,
they felt they had to.
I understand that they feel a certain way about Jones, but when Jones is producing, which he has this year, and your whole point of emphasis is that the reason why you're benching him is because he makes a mistake, you could say the same thing about Mike Evans. And actually, if you wanted to, you could say that Ronald Jones actually has more production than Mike Evans this year when it comes to anything else on this team. You could say that.
How many touchdowns does he have?
Well, yeah, Mike Evans has 11 touchdowns. I get that. But look at the receiving yards, look at the catches, and also look at the injury situation. He hasn't played consistently all year long. He's been dealing with injuries. You have a running back that had 400-yard games and gives you the opportunity so you can go to Mike Evans down the field, and yet you take him out of there because supposedly he can't pass protect. You replace him with Fournette, who does the same exact thing and gives you no value at all. Not the same.
Well, I don't agree completely with that, but why do you think Arians does that?
I have no idea.
So you don't think there's some reason that he does that?
I think, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think it's ego. I think it's a lot of ego. That's what I think it is.
Let me tell you something, Peter. He's making $8 million a year.
Okay.
And if he doesn't make this,
he
doesn't make playoffs this year, he ain't going to be making $8 million a year.
Okay, but coaches.
So you don't make decisions when you're making $8 million a year on ego.
When you're doing
you make decisions on what you believe is the best thing that you can do to get your $8 million a year.
Well, then if that's the decision he's making, he's not doing right by that. Somebody should tell him to give back his $8 million to the team. Because if he thinks that Leonard Fournette is giving you the best chance to win, when clearly all year long he has done basically nothing besides the Carolina game, basically nothing for this team at all, production-wise, then he needs to get back his $8 million. He's made a wrong decision at this point. He has. That's my point. And that's the reason why there's a lot of fans out there that are frustrated, because they see the identity of this team. They understand that the victim of volume should be getting more carries. And even the coach says today, oh, we should get 20 carries. You think?
Yeah, because he's saying to him, clean up your act so we can give you the ball 20 times.
Maybe the coach should worry about setting players aside and letting them know about it instead of going in the media with his ego and trying to call out players and trying to play games. Maybe he should follow what he preaches. If a guy makes the mistake, like a Chris Godwin, which he's done this year, or a Mike Evans, to bench them. But he won't do it, and that's the reason why right now, most likely, Al, there's a dysfunction in this locker room.
Peter, they're 7-5.
Okay, they could be better than 7.
They're 7-5. Absolutely, they could be better. And you know what? Going into this season, if we had said, hey, listen, even 12 games in, you may not like where they are, but they're looking like they have got a good shot at the playoffs. With your last 4 games against these teams, would you take that? And you take it in a heartbeat. Now, does that mean you don't try to improve this team? Does that mean you don't try to find more of a balance? I have no problems with you saying that there should be more of a balance, but you got to look at the game situation, number one. Number two, you got to go with the guys that you have the most confidence in that fourth quarter.
Game situation could have changed against the Rams. They were in that game. They gave up on the running game, period.
Hey guys, think about this. The Bears, Rams, and Chiefs game, they lost by a total of 7 points.
Right.
They could have won all 3 of those games. We could actually be 10-2 right now. The 2 games to the Saints, I'll give those games to the Saints. We actually could have won that first game against the Saints. The other game was a blowout, of course. But you think about that, 7 points between the Bears, Rams, and Chiefs, we lost.
Right, and you lost it because
2 here and there.
Right,
and it's a different situation. It's in our favor.
I agree, Todd. I'll tell you what, we're going to let you go here. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. All right.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. No, I mean, look, we can debate it all night long, but at the end of the day, they have the talent. They put the pressure on themselves. This organization basically signed up for it. 7-5 is not good enough, in my opinion. They've had an opportunity to win some games here, and only if they just would have stuck with what is working for them. This is not working with the one-dimensional offense and giving up on the run game. And at the end of the day, if anybody feels like Leonard Fournette is your best chance to win for your running game, I hate to tell you, you're wrong, because the stats show otherwise. That's my point.
Well, again, being a running back is certainly more than just making explosive plays. And I've said very clearly that Rojo is more explosive than Leonard Fournette.
Right.
But Leonard Fournette, despite what you're saying, over the course of the season, is much better at protecting Tom Brady, especially late in the game, than Rojo. And that's more important late in the game as you're trying to come back and rally the last couple of weeks.
I would say, instead of getting to that point where you have to use Leonard Fournette in the fourth quarter, maybe if you come out with a game plan, instead of starting out slow and instead of trying to throw the ball deep all the time and just be a one-dimensional offense.
Peter, don't get caught up in that stuff.
Well, come on.
Don't get caught up in this throwing deep, because
if you're not
have seen every other team in
doing
football, their fans are saying,
they're not.
We want you to go deep. Okay,
they're not successful in doing it. Now, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
What's their record?
Doing it.
What's their record?
7-5 is not successful enough in doing it. Look at the percentages. Look at how many deep passes he's missed this year. Look at that.
And that's all Brady's fault.
I'm not saying it's all Brady's fault. The coaching is not helping him.
Well, you're talking about the plays that are being called. I'm not saying it's all Brady's fault.
I'm talking about
the offensive line, there was a chance that they weren't going to have anywhere. I mean, other than practice squad players, there was a chance they were going to have to put those kind of guys on their offensive line yesterday.
I get it.
But Donovan Smith didn't play the best game in the world, and he continues to make all kinds of mistakes. And I can guarantee you, the first thing they're going to do next year is look for a left tackle, other than Donovan Smith.
I hope they do.
That's got to be cleaned up. And one of the reasons why now Ronald Jones and his blocking is so important in the backfield is because you got guys like Donovan Smith out there playing left tackle, but making all kinds of mistakes.
Well, here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. If you're talking about Donovan Smith and how weak this offensive line is, why would you continue to throw the ball over 40 times a game when you know that?
Because that's your only chance of gaining yards.
That's BS, because you know that's not true, because you've seen it before with this run game take off when they're committed.
Okay, you're down 20, you're down 17-0. You're gonna win the game by running the football?
You're going to stick with the game plan. If your game plan is to run the football, stick with your game plan, have balance to it, so you can make the defense accountable. And by the way, down 17.
You got to catch up. You got to catch up.
Don't get set.
You got to catch up. Now, I'm not saying you abandon the run game, and I think they have abandoned the run game too quickly.
Thank you.
Okay,
that's my point.
And I haven't denied you that part of your argument, but for you to say that the reason they're having problems like they are right now is because Ronald Jones isn't getting the ball enough, I just can't agree with that. Simply because Ronald Jones has to clean up his act, and he hasn't.
Didn't the coach just say that he needs 20 touches in the game? Didn't the coach just say that?
Absolutely, because I can guarantee you in the meeting, he then said, we'll give you 20 touches if you learn how to take care of Brady in blocking people coming through. Did you see that play with Tyrann Mathieu? It was embarrassing.
And I saw the play where Leonard Fournette gave a half-ass effort too on the throw to Godwin, but nobody focuses on that. Fournette is giving the same type of effort there, but yet he's getting more carries. It doesn't make any sense. Because
he's getting more carries. Who's got more carries on the season? Rojo or Fournette?
Well, Jones is getting more carry. Jones is getting more carries right now. That's what I understand. If you're getting to him more carries, and does this make sense to you? When you get down the 1st and goal and Ronald Jones is hot and he's got you down there, you bring in Fournette, you get stuffed. And then you try to throw it out to Fournette and you get stuffed again. And then you got to settle for a field goal. Does that make sense to you? Why would you take out Jones for Fournette at that point?
Do you think Ronald Jones would have been the difference in those plays working. Because on the plays I saw, he was surrounded. You know, Fournette was surrounded on every single play.
He was on the drive. He got you down there. Why aren't you not giving him the ball? Why are you?
That doesn't mean anything once you're inside the 10 and you're not having the blocking up front in order to be able to do what you want to do. Because Ronald Jones would have lost yardage, just like Leonard Fournette. You know, I saw Rocky Bleier gain 1,000 yards in a season. He had no business being a running back in the National Football League. It was about the guys up front. It was about the guys blocking.
I agree.
And at the same time, part of your job as a running back is to protect your quarterback. And Ronald Jones isn't doing that at the level that gives Bruce Arians confidence. That's why he's not in the fourth quarter.
I think it's misplaced when you're going with Fournette. If Fournette's doing the same thing, why you keep on playing him? Why not?
I don't think he's doing the same thing. I don't.
He is. I just told you there was.
You saw one play. How many times have we seen? Okay, let's talk about Ronald Jones against the Giants.
Okay.
Very first drive.
Okay.
He's tossed a pass, drops it.
Okay.
Okay. And we can just go right on down the line.
I mean,
other than
that was your thinking.
The big run against.
But here's the thing. If you're thinking that way, if that's your thinking at that point, then you take away the Panthers game because Ronald Jones fumbled early on that game, and then they take him out. They
gave him a chance.
And what happened? Success.
He hit one run. The rest of the time, he averaged 4.3 yards per carry.
Which takes the
nothing all that great. He made some plays. I'm not saying he didn't make plays.
Takes the pressure from Tom Brady, does it not? Instead of 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 6. It's 2nd and 5. That's the point.
But Fournette does the same thing. Have you looked at the stats?
He's not good. He's not good as Ronald Jones. He's not. He's not.
Well, Ronald Jones is more explosive than Leonard Fournette. I will give you that. I'll give you that all day long.
He has more.
Ronald Jones can't catch the football coming out of the backfield, nor can he protect his quarterback.
Fournette can't do the same thing either.
He's not doing the job. He's not doing the job. If he was, Peter, do you think that they would purposely take him out and not play him?
I don't know what this coaching staff is thinking. Honestly, the best chance you have to win, the best chance you have to establish balance to this team is with Ronald Jones. It's not with Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette has done nothing at this point. He dropped 3 passes versus the Rams, and he still kept him in there. You still kept on trying to force him down the Rams' throat, and it didn't work. You gave the ball to Ronald Jones 10 times. You gave it to him a total of 2 weeks, 19 times. That's the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL. You want to talk about identity? The Tennessee Titans have an identity. They give the ball to Derrick Henry. They believe in Derrick Henry. This coaching staff doesn't believe in Ronald Jones. I don't know why, because he's been able to produce. Does he miss some blocks? Yes, he has his faults. Does he miss some passes? Does he fumble the ball? Yes, he does, like every other player on this team as we've gone through. But they don't get benched. This guy gets benched, and it doesn't make any sense. And then have the coach come out today and say, well, we should give the ball to him 20 times. No stuff. No stuff. Because that's your best chance.
Yeah. And if he would not stop making the mistakes he makes, he'd be getting the ball at least 20 times.
There's players on this team that make mistakes the same way, and they don't have the accountability factor as Jones does. It doesn't fly.
Okay, so all they do, they're just picking on Rojo.
I'm just saying.
They're just picking on Rojo.
That is your point of emphasis, Al, then you could say that about every player on this team, including your superstars.
Okay, but when these other guys make mistakes, it may cause a turnover, okay, but it's not going to get your quarterback killed. And the guy that's the most important player on this team right now is Tom Brady. So you've got to do everything you can because you got a left tackle that's not very good.
I agree. And
your left guard has been out with a concussion for three straight games.
Right.
Your center has got to be able to move several different places. You still have a fairly young guy at right guard, and he's done a great job in Tampa. And then your right tackle has been incredible as a first-round pick, you know, but you still have some issues on that offensive line. So especially on the left side, and you don't think the team schemed for that? You don't think the Saints knew exactly where to put pressure on Brady?
And yet,
since it's shaky up front, that makes the blocking, that last line of defense for Brady, all that more important. And I can guarantee you that they would love to have Rojo and his explosiveness in there, but the reason they don't is because they can't trust them.
Well, you're talking about the offensive line, and yet you put together a game plan where you're throwing the ball predominantly in the majority of the game, which doesn't make any sense. I don't
Because
care.
you're behind. Because you're behind.
You would be behind if you have balance to your offense in the first place. You didn't try to run the ball.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So in the first quarter, when Tyreek Hill had the 75-yard touchdown pass, what did that have to do with the offense?
Well, the offense came out.
All of a sudden, you're down 10-0, just like that.
Right.
So you want to force feed Ronald Jones?
I want to have balance to the offense. I want to have a run-pass differential to the offense, and you don't have that. You didn't have it yesterday. That's why you have all the 3 and outs, because strictly you're just throwing the ball. That's why Ronald Jones only got it 9 times yesterday, and Leonard Fournette got it probably another, 7 times? So you ran the ball for what? Actually 6 times from Fournette. So it's 13 times total you ran the ball. You deserve to lose. You're not that good. You're not as good as the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know why? It's what you mentioned. The offensive line isn't good enough. And yet this coaching staff wants to continue to go one-dimensional with throwing the ball instead of doing their strength, having an identity. The good teams have it. The Bucs, I can't figure them out. They're a weird team. I'll give you final thoughts here, Al. Great debate.
I'm done. I'm done. We're getting off on stuff that really doesn't matter. The fact is they're 7-5. Can they go through the rest of the way and make the playoffs? They've got to, they're going to have to beat Atlanta once, and they're going to have to do whatever they can against Minnesota and Detroit. So, that's what it comes down to. And I guarantee you this, that in the fourth quarter or during crunch time in those games, they're going to have the guys that they believe give them the best opportunity to make things happen. Now, they may not be the most explosive. They may not have the capability of coming out with the longest run, but they know what they need to do. And a coaching staff that's making millions of dollars, they make millions of dollars for a reason.
Well,
okay. They just don't toss them millions of dollars and say, here you go, we like you.
Okay.
There's a reason why they're getting those millions of dollars, because they're fairly good at what they do.
Well,
okay. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure they keep those $1 million. And that means you're going to play the guys that you're most confident in with the game on the line.
Well, if they're playing with games on the line and they're going away from one of their biggest weapons, I would say they probably are stealing money from this Buccaneer organization. Good stuff, Al Keck. Appreciate the time. We'll see you next week. All right. Oh, actually, see you tomorrow. What do you got coming up tomorrow?
I don't know. I can tell you what I'm not talking about. I won't be talking about Rojo.
All right. The Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10. FTS
come up with hashtags tomorrow. We're doing our hashtag game. We're doing our game balls and deflated balls. Okay. So, think about those type of things out there. And Peter, think about some good hashtags on this game that fits, the way that the game went in your eyes, and just back it up. I'm sure, it'll probably involve Ronald Jones. And there you go. And we'll listen to it. And I'll give you your say and go from there.
That balance for Brady. That's my new hashtag. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Good stuff, Al. Appreciate you. All right. So let's go out to the web heads here. Let's see what we have to say here. Nacho holding it down decently. Brandon says Carlton Davis was hung out to dry with 1 safety deep. And while Bucs don't make adjustments because the Bucs have no depth on defense, and Jordan Whitehead can't cover any deep, so we have to rely on the rookie to make plays deep. 1 deep. Let's see here. Paul says the success is so glaring when we give Rojo the volume touches, set up the play action for Brady. Bingo. I cannot for the life of me understand why they go away from Rojo. He busts one loose last night, starts warming up, and then they bail on him. It's maddening. Mark says, have to have the balanced attack on offense. Indeed, that is consistent with pressure up front. Dustin, BA needs to evolve his playbook. Feels like he's coaching like he's still in Arizona. Christopher, Peter bringing the heat. Appreciate you. Anwar, to took the call right before you read my comment. Anwar, I will get to your calls here. We were having a furious debate there. I do apologize. Call back. I know we missed Leo. He was supposed to call in, so we'll get him on. But sometimes, guys, when it comes down to a debate, you have to go here on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. Yes, it's coaching. Paul, he's practically the only guy we have that can really explode and change the game on one play single-handedly. He makes people miss, and once he gets rolling, he is hard to stop. Free Rojo, and we will see the results we are looking for. Agree. The Bucs can make adjustments on defense because they have no depth on that side of the ball. Whitehead is terrible and covered down the field, so we have to rely on the rookie back there, and he's getting overwhelmed in the beginning of games. What do you think? I think it's certainly possible. I even asked Blake Anthony yesterday. It looked like a couple times there, Winfield Jr. was out of position or wasn't back there fast enough. Just my opinion. I'm not a coach. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars. But I do know this. Offensive coordinators, coaches, general managers make mistakes. They are not perfect. No matter how much money they're making, they get fired too. And I tell you right now, if this coaching staff doesn't turn it around soon, we're going to be talking about it. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's how they go down the field, Al. All go routes won't get it. Harry, we've all seen and agree with this team has all the talent, especially on offense. I said it before and we'll say it again. There is only one football. Play calling is atrocious when it comes to balance on the side of the ball. Don't even get me started on the defensive side of the ball. Tampa will figure it out by playoff time. At least I hope they will. We got Rick Hughes coming up. I do apologize to Leo Haggerty. May call him later here. I don't think he has a curfew. And if you're going to freaking run it, you're telling me we put our 5 big dogs spread wide. No one can get open. I mean, how can we have a defense have an answer for Evans, Godwin, AB, Gronk, Brate, Miller in any order you choose on the field at once? Bunch them up, spread them out. You cannot cover them all. Dink and friggin' dunk these dudes all the way down the field if that's what it takes. I like it. I like it a lot here. Wow, what a debate. Laugh out loud. I'm glad you liked it. Fournette tap dances to the line of scrimmage right into the wrong gap. Rojo has so much more explosiveness and runs with a lot more purpose. Brandon, a good running back blocks. I agree. And I've never said that Ronald Jones is a perfect player. Make no mistake about it. He misses blocks. But if you watch the tape on Sunday versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Leonard Fournette missed as many blocks probably as Rojo. You just didn't focus on it. You don't. You will never freaking know how the bell cow is if you don't give him the damn bar. Anwar says, sounds like Bruce is the problem. Paul, Rojo, here you go. Take these 3 to 4 carries, start heating up, and then go sit down. Have a nice day. Exactly. I agree with Al, says Brandon. Kyle Keck says, Jake Arians said today on Loose Cannons he believes Rojo doesn't see carries in the fourth quarter due to pass pro. Might be. I'm split on this one. Anwar says, but I think Rojo needs to be the guy. Michael says, 8-8 at very best. Draft a quarterback, of course. I mean, that's always the solution here for Bucs fans. Draft a quarterback. Don't draft a left tackle. Don't get offensive linemen that are going to protect you. Don't have balance to your offense at all. Just draft a freaking quarterback and ruin that quarterback in another 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like Baker Mayfield, a turnover machine last year. What does he have that's different? New coaching staff, new head coach, the same type of time that the Bucs had in the offseason, and yet they're 8-3. Why? Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb called. And that's been the difference. And they lost Odell Beckham Jr. And they have a defense that's consistent. So it can be done. Don't give me the new coaching stuff and all the systems and all that other garbage. There's teams that have shown they can do it. Arians and the whole staff have been horrible. Paul, Peter, I agree with you. If you give Rojo the ball, feed him, maybe that support and trust him with help tightening up on some of the areas he's lacking. I think he's a bit disheartened that you keep going away from him when he's trying to run his ass off and help this team. And if your point is that he misses blocks, then Mike Evans doesn't always run great routes. We've seen it throughout his career. He's not getting benched. He's getting chewed out by his quarterback, which he got chewed out yesterday. Did you watch that? Did you see Tony Romo say it? Accountability. It works in both ways, not just for one player. That's my point. We need Peyton Manning as an offensive coordinator. Good luck. I think he likes what he's doing. Al, they lost by 3 by KC. Let off the gas. Let's get real. Anwar, that's what I said. Bruce is the problem. We never run new plays. It's the same versus every team. D, Balance and coaching has been the problem since Lovey left. Thank you. And I've always said that, even when Jameis was here. And all you fans can sit out there and say whatever you want to. But what did I say on this show? You got to have a running game. You guys think that you can have every offense like Patrick Mahomes. But keep in mind, when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, didn't they have 100 yards of rushing? Didn't they have balance to it? You know why? Because eventually there's going to be defense that's going to smack you in the mouth. When you become one-dimensional, they're going to get you in those situations where they're going to be able to stop you. You've got to have balance to your offense. You've got to have an offensive line. Rojo hasn't had a chance to be the guy. Thank you. This. Brandon, Bruce loves Rojo. I don't think he does. Facts, Peter. Absolutely. And I spit him. I do. Jameis moved on. Good for him. Did I like the celebration with the Saints? No, neither did the NFL. But I'm tired of having this debate with people. The frustrating thing is we're still going back to the same problems you had last year. And this is on coaching. You can't throw the ball 40 times a game and win. This team is not good enough. They're not built for it. When are you going to get it through your thick skull? I agree on Mike Evans' point. Absolutely. Mike does not run the right routes sometimes. He doesn't. And he's given up on routes. He's admitted to it. Evans' mistakes don't put Brady in jeopardy or getting clobbered. No, but they put him in jeopardy of throwing an interception, which gives the other team momentum. Eric, I don't think Brady will allow this team to spiral much more without being openly active, making adjustments to whatever Brady wants, including coaching staff. The verbal matchup is going 15 rounds, everyone. Anwar, Rojo, don't make as many mistakes as 76. Neither one of y'all have brought that up yet. Brought it up big time. I mean, and that's the point. That's the whole frustrating thing about this offense. You know that you're not adequate at the offensive line spot. You know it. And yet you want to throw the ball 40 times. I mean, at least if you're going to throw the ball, throw it quick. Don't go 5 to 7 step drops. I don't have to make $1 million to know that. Right? 3 to 5 step drops. It worked in New England with Brady. Why can't it work here? Because they don't want it to work here. And that's a problem. That's not good coaching. It's not. It's what got Lovey fired. It's what gets lots of coaches fired. You think Bill Walsh said, you know what? Joe Montana can't run my offense, so I'm not going to draft him. In fact, I'm not going to play him. No, he drafted Joe Montana for the specific reason of running a West Coast offense. He took his strengths and he used them to the best of their abilities. That's the difference between great coaching and poor coaching. Facts. Facts, Peter. Truth, Peter. Thank you. Appreciate it. Paul, if it wasn't for Rojo making that amazing run after the catch last night, what would be the outcome of being on the scoreboard? Rojo took the team on his back with that touchdown, and you could see it. He was willing. The boys on that fantastic touchdown reception sparked any chance of comeback happening. Bingo! Won't be in that situation needing Fournette to help protect Brady if you aren't always trying to mount a comeback and passing every damn play. Running it with Rojo and having the balance, you will be ahead and not behind 100%. Paul, well, if you're down 17-0 in the first quarter, laugh my ass off. Don't abandon the run yet. Who's winning, y'all, Al or Peter? Pete, says Paul. I think Peter is winning. I should have Al on for this. Mark says, agree with Al. You don't abandon the run, but you do have to catch up late in the game. Short passes, double tight end sets, and such. Joel, Ronald Jones is way better than Fournette. What's this guy Al on? Paul says, Rojo would still have close to 100 yards against Carolina, even if he take away the 98 yards. Come on, Al. Anwar, answer the phone, Peter. I will later on. We'll get Rick Hughes on. Sorry about that, guys. Just watch the replay of the pick to Miller. If Jones and Smith held their blocks, that would have been a touchdown. Anwar, man, tell Al 76 he's getting paid. Jameis got killed all last year. Go check the tape. He needs to be benched by Al's rules. Paul, Get rid of the ball quick. Stop running routes so deep. Then we don't have to put so much pressure on our suspect offensive line, which is turning to not relying so much on Fournette's pass blocking. Bingo. My bad. 76 has been bad for 5 years. Sorry. Paul, shouldn't even thrown the ball. After the Godwin catch, they should have been feeding Rojo the rest of the way. Christopher, Jones and Smith got Brady hit, and he didn't get enough on the throw. Feed Rojo. I like it. I like it a lot. Eric, my whole point about running the ball in the first half is establishing an identity. Based on the strategy, establish run, open up pass, everything in between. Even if only to keep Patrick Mahomes off the damn field, run the ball 30% first half. Then if you're down in the second half, we can break out the firepower. If you lose that way, so be it, but at least you lose on your terms. Draft O-line, D-line. Brandon says, Mike Evans gives up on routes, arguing too much, should be disciplined. Paul, I really think Miller and Brady were starting to click well before AB got here as well. Now Miller's nowhere to be found. Joel, I mean, Arians can't be this naive, right? He has to realize he isn't getting it done along with Leftwich. Ego you mentioned earlier, and that ego is going to cost him his job. And my point is, it's nothing personal, but when you're saying basically, I'm not going to take anything that Brady does to his strength, I'm going to try to get him to do things that he's not doing good at. He's not been effective throwing the deep ball. He was somewhat yesterday, but he hasn't in the past. Teams are catching up on that. You're becoming predictable. That's what I'm talking about. If he doesn't get the job to the playoffs, you fire him Monday after the last game. Brandon, Brady can make the all-line look good with dink and dunk. But Bruce is old and stuck in his ways. Taylor, hi, Peter. How you doing? Brandon, how about the balls to Johnson go to AB? That's miss hurt. Scratch the Smith, give the guy to Gronk because he was late and missed it completely. Brad, can we blame defense here? They can't stop anything if we can't keep them from scoring, and they can score ourselves. Johnny, Peter read the last message I sent you. You need a good lap, brother. Christopher, Smith left Gronk out to dry. And again, it's nothing personal. Nothing personal between me and Al Keck. But I feel a certain way, and he feels a certain way. So you guys can feel that way. Call on the phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Mr. Rick Hughes. Rick, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Bucs lose to the Chiefs. Your thoughts?
Did I miss something? Look, I've got to say this. Saying that, well, the coaches are right because they make millions of dollars is one of the dumbest things I think I've ever heard. I mean, Raheem made millions. Shiano made millions. Right now, Matt Patricia made millions. That doesn't make them right. To me, it makes no sense just to say, well, they're making millions, so they know what they're doing. That makes no sense. Right. Matt Gay made millions. So Roberto Aguayo made millions. So I don't that argument in and of itself doesn't make any sense. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that this, and I know the victim of volume thing, and I know that I'm in Rojo's, I'm sort of in the den of Rojo, but let me say this. Everybody who says Rojo is so much better than Fournette, they're two different backs. And to say Rojo's better than Fournette, they're different. They're different. They do different things. And do I think, look, I don't care. At this point, I'm going to say this. I don't give and I'm trying to keep this clean. I don't give a care right now whether you're running Rojo more or Fournette more. But what I am saying is this. If you want the passing attack to work, you better frickin' run the ball more.
Thank you.
I mean, here's the thing. Tie up the linebackers. Make them stay honest. Make them be ready for the run. I mean, if you just let the linebackers draw back in coverage and nobody's worrying about the run at all, then of course it's easier to cover these receivers. So you've got weapons that you might as well use. I've said this repeatedly. A 0-yard run is not always a failure. And what you're doing, if you run the ball 3-4 times in a row, okay, fine. You didn't get a first down, maybe. All right. But guess what happens next time you come out? You hand the ball off on first down, And now they start going, oh, crap, they're going to run the ball again. So what do? You bring the linebackers up a little bit. You make sure that you're protecting against the run. And now you've opened the center of the field. So you know what? Everybody's saying dink and dunk their way down the field. You can't do it unless you run the ball, because there are linebackers pitching tents in the middle of the field because they don't have to worry about the run. Yep. They can just kick back there and wait and keep that area of the field clogged up. So you've got to run the ball more so you can pass. This is not rocket science. This is basic football 101. Now, I know Johnny Dean's an expert at football. I know Al Keckness is an expert. I know Peter's an expert. I'm not the expert. Fine. But I freaking know this.
I agree, man. I absolutely agree. You have to run the ball more than 19 times. That's my problem. 10 carries in the Rams game, 9 carries, and then he comes out today. That would be Coach BA saying we got to get 20 touches. 20 touches or more, and that's what it's coming down to. Now, let's get off of this. Let's go into the latest report from Jason La Canfora of CBS Sports, and this is what this article had to say yesterday. Scouts have scouted the Buccaneers and have also concluded that the offense is fairly predictable and failing to play to the 43-year-old quarterback's strengths, setting up an interesting final month of the season with the team at 7-4. Of course, this was before the game. Now they're 7-5. Tom's a big boy and he could take it, said one source close to the quarterback. It's a great way to deflect blame from Arians, keep everybody asking about the quarterback so they don't focus on the limitations of the scheme or lack of adjustments being made. Are they really grinding to find every way to make this work better, or just blaming the quarterback? Are they grinding all night trying to find answers? Again, of course, Brady has come under fire under Arians. Of course, Arians calling him out, which is kind of different new. One NFL exec says the reliance on the article says, the reliance on multiple vertical routes in the deep ball, despite not being Brady's forte at the point in his career. Some predictable trends in play calling, a propensity to be stuck in second and long, the lack of a true pass-catching threat out of the backfield, a staple for Brady going back to the days of Kevin Falk. Offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich is not experienced and accomplished play caller, which is also a factor. The scout says this is not really a game plan team, says one NFL exec. They want to get the best players on the field as much as they can and try to throw it deep and beat you that way. That's kind of one way of doing things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you're screwed. They aren't willing to try to reinvent themselves to win that particular game. The Bucs lead the NFL with 27 dropbacks on attempts that travel 30 yards or more in the air. According to PFF, the NFL average is 16.
This is what I was saying, and I was talking to somebody today who told me, no, Brady always throws deep like this. No, he doesn't.
Right. Now, listen to this. Brady posting a brutal 46.4 rating on those passes. They also led the NFL with 60 attempts that have traveled 20 yards or more. The NFL average is 40, double. Brady's quarterback rating being just 57.6 on such passes. Brady has attempted 13 passes to running backs, slightly over the NFL average of 10, but the lack of a true airback has been obvious to opponents. The Bucs average just 2.62 yards per an attempt to running backs, far and away the worst in the NFL. The league average is 6.51.
Well, and that says tons. And this is why I say it's not, we can scream and jump up and down and say it needs to be Rojo. I don't freaking care who it is. Somebody run the freaking ball. And that's really all I care at this point. I mean, look, anybody who says that Fournette doesn't block better than Rojo, you're wrong. Okay? I get it. Maybe you like Rojo a whole lot. Maybe he's your favorite player. You got his jersey, whatever. Okay. But the bottom line is Fournette blocks better than him. Fournette catches passes better than him.
Rick, I saw yesterday there were a couple times there, and if it's just one time you're taking out Rojo and you don't have faith in him, I've seen a couple times now Fournette blow blocks. So
no, any running back here and there is going to blow blocks. I guarantee you, he also was hitting the blocks quite a bit.
That to me kind of defeats the whole thing of, well, we don't necessarily believe in Rojo because he's going to blow a block in the fourth quarter. Well, Fournette can do the same thing. Mike Evans runs routes all the time. And he's
But Peter, it's just not right that you're trying to compare the two in blocking, and Fournette's a better blocker. He's a better blocker, Peter. I mean, you can listen, Rojo. If you want to put Rojo in the game because he's more explosive and you want to keep him running, Peter, I'm 100% behind you. I have no problem with that. Okay, if you want to say give Rojo the time and let him get better at catching passes, I won't even argue with that. But he's not a very good blocker. Okay, and I hear you that Fournette missed a block here or there. Okay, I do hear that. I don't think it was that often, because when Rojo's in the game, he's in there to catch a pass for the most part. I mean, he doesn't even really run the ball much. He's in there to catch a pass. When Rojo's in there, I mean, when Fournette comes in the game, he's looking to catch a pass because of how they're using him. But it's just a fact that he's a better blocker. Now, I don't want to argue about that. To me, that's getting off track, and but I'm not going to sit here and try and justify. Look, you want to say Rojo should be the starter and Rojo should continue to play and not be a victim of volume. Okay, I'll go along with that. I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. But I'm not going to say that he's as good a blocker just to further fit the narrative. He's not. Fournette can block better. Fournette can catch passes better. Rojo has shown himself to be a very effective running back. I don't need to say more than that. There doesn't need to be more than that. We don't need to make it more complex. I don't need to blow up his performance into something bigger than it is. The man ran for 98 yards on one run. And if you say, oh, you take that away, what did he have? Pretty much over 100 yards. Okay. So stop it. I mean, look, when you run the ball for 5 times in the Saints game, less than any game in the history of the NFL ever, and you follow that up with a game where there's 9 runs, I believe, and this time I forgot what there were, 17, something like that. I don't remember. There wasn't that much in this game. The point of the matter is you're hanging out your quarterback to dry by not running. All right. You say, well, they're behind. Well, listen, this is simple math. Okay. We can make everything complex, and maybe it's just my brain is overly simple. I don't know. But the bottom line is, when you run the ball fewer times than any team in history, you weren't behind more than any team in history has been behind. Mm-hmm. Okay. So something's not adding up here.
Right.
There's something about the math here that makes no sense. All right, you run the ball. It's going to pull the linebackers up. It's going to free up the wide receivers. If you want to throw the ball effectively, run the damn ball.
Yes, agree. All right, let's go out to the web heads here. Read these comments from these guys. Good stuff. Rick, let's see. Coaching staff needs to go to the front office in one Buck place, get that big-ass rock and pound the rock. Good stuff, Brandon. I agree. That was a dumb statement. Brandon says coaches are bad to get teams to perform at certain levels. Forget what you've done with in the past. It's a do now league. Brad, neither one can catch.
I don't think that's true. Although Rojo has not had the kind of year he normally. I mean, I'm sorry. Fournette dropped, not so much in this game, but the last game he did drop a couple.
Right. Same. Well, he dropped 3 against the Rams, and he was still
right. That's what I was talking about.
Right. Same, but different. Paul says maybe Brady really thought he could make all the throws needed in BA's offense, and he himself is realizing at this point he's a bit more than he can chew, and the reality of it is just now it's not working. It's setting in for Bruce and Brady. They both are now going to have to swallow a bit of humble pie. Now the changes are going to start coming. They hung on as long as they could. Play calling changes to come. Do you think there's going to be play calling changes to come? And let me ask you this, from this report, do you think there is some friction and, some discontent, if you will, from Brady with the way this offense is right now?
I have no idea if there's going to be a change. I have no idea what to expect from this team. I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea if they're going to come out and run the ball 4 times. I have no idea if there's going to be an arrogant, oh yeah, let me show you, coming from the coaches, and then they run the ball 40 times in a game. I have no idea what to expect. I got nothing for you when it comes to that. I can tell you
Let me ask you this. Are you disappointed that they're 7-5? Should they be a lot better than what they are right now?
No, I have said this for a while. The Bucs did not sign a Lombardi trophy, and I think people got way too excited, and the whole Super Bowl or bust thing was.
That was me, and that's
and Peter. I didn't agree with you before, and I didn't, and we argued about it, and I'll say what I said before the year started, and I'll stand by it. If at the end of this year, the Buccaneers are a much better team than they were previously, and when you go into 2021, you're saying, wow, this is a team to be reckoned with. This was a good year. Let's be clear about something. Bucs fans, check yourselves. This is the best this team has been in probably 20 years or almost 20 years. What, 17? Okay. This is the best this team has been in a long time, and you're unhappy. And there's only two reasons you're unhappy. Number one, they don't run the ball enough. And number two, your expectations, not the team's performance. Listen to this. These are factual numbers, okay? This is not me making this up. The last 5 games, the Kansas City Chiefs have scored against the Bucs, 27. Prior to that, 35, 33, 35, and 43. And you're complaining, saying this defense did an awful job. Let's be clear. They did pretty darn good against this team. And when you start saying, oh my gosh, Tyreek Hill went off, that's what he does.
Right. But
it's not like this is the first team that he's burned. And you know what? You know what they did? If they hung Carlton Davis out to dry and said, just like when you say about LeBron, fine, you get yours. We'll stop everybody else. That's what they freaking did.
But Rick, it doesn't make any sense to make the adjustments later on in the game. Why are you going one-on-one coverage with Carlton Davis when you know that's a mismatch nightmare? It makes no sense.
Because, again, I think it's, all right, Tyreek Hill's going to get his own, but Kelsey's not.
Well, I'd rather get Kelsey than Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill can kill you. I mean, look, Kelsey's a slow kill. I would have rather, and it's like Leo Haggerty said, the legend who was supposed to be on here tonight, but I missed his call. I would rather them kill me slowly and go on long drives instead of have big plays that basically kill you.
Again, they only scored 27 points. And I say look, man, basically there's one team that scored 23 against them. Okay. Or only allowed them to score 23. I mean, and one other team, 26. Other than that, the Buccaneers held them to a lower score than any other team. Okay. And now let's flip that. Okay. Because nobody talks about Kansas City's defense. Again, real numbers. The Buccaneers with the Buccaneers scoring 24. I mean, listen to starting at the beginning of the year, the Chiefs gave up 20, next game 20, next game 10, next game 40. There you go. Then 17, 16, 9, the 31. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Bucs did not play poorly against the second best team in the NFL. Now, you want to be concerned about something? We can wrap this entire loss and the Rams loss and most of the games. If you solve one problem, you win just about every game. Start faster.
I agree.
If you do that one thing, forget all this talk about everything else. Forget all of this talk about, oh no, running backs throwing deep, not tackling, Fournette, Jones, all of that. Forget all of it. Start faster and you win the games.
I like it. Carlton Cook says we haven't had a running game since we paid Muscle Hamster. Brad, play call is a failure, just like Tony said last night. Motion. Brady is reading the offense after the snap. Brandon, I agree. I said that did on the Super Bowl run. Go get the rock from one Buck place and bring it to the locker room. Agree. Rojo's our guy. Just get this dude some mouse pads for gloves. So Brady is the only quarterback in the league who can't check down. Laugh out loud. Okay. Run the ball. says Carlton. Paul says, we all agree who's the better pass blocker here, but we will be in a better situation to not have to worry about so much about pass pro with our backs if we have balance, and also more than likely the lead going into the fourth quarter. Bingo. Exactly. To be fair to both backs on some of the drops, Brady was a little off on a couple of them to Fournette and Brady. That's fair. Bottom line, Arians is old and stuck in his ways, so he isn't going to make adjustments. Therefore, this team will fade into a disappointing year. I just hope the Glazers cut bait with Arians, go get Josh McDaniels. Paul,
if the Buccaneers go to the playoffs and maybe they win one game in the playoffs, is that a disappointment? Are you freaking kidding me? How long has it been?
I get that, but again, the expectations were raised when you
you just said it. The expectations, unrealistic or not.
I don't know if they're unrealistic when you've got a Tom Brady, when you've got a Rob Gronkowski and a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. And I get it with all the extenuating circumstances of
right.
and the 400 reps and all that. But there are teams, Rick, that have gone through the same thing. Kansas City has gone through the same
thing. They played together last year, Peter.
How about the Cleveland Browns?
They pretty much played together last year.
They have a new coaching staff. They have a new offensive system there.
The team pretty much played together last year.
But
okay, this is simple. Picture this for a second. Everybody, close your eyes. Woosah. Close your eyes for a second. Now do something with me. Picture you have training camp. You have the OTAs. You have everything next year after this year is over. All right, they work together all off season. What do you think happens with this team?
Most likely they're better. I think they're better prepared. I think they are. But I see teams that are able to be successful in this league, and they have less talent than the Bucs do.
I agree with you there. I
also say that this team does more to shoot themselves in the foot than I've seen any other team out there. And on top of it, fans have seen them basically poleaxe the Green Bay Packers. Okay, take care of the Raiders, which, by the way, defeated KC and just got crushed by the Atlanta Falcons. So you really can't figure out the NFL. But my thing is the effort, and like you said, slow starts have become a consistent thing.
Absolutely.
And then on top of it, the pressure of getting to Brady, where he doesn't have any touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and yet you still continue to have the same game plan. That in itself is frustrating.
Yeah. Now you're about to get to a comment here that I've gotta. You got to give me a second.
All right, I'll give you a second. Ron says, Mr. Rick Hughes, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. Rick, it could have been way better.
Oh, you went past it.
Oh, I did? Okay. Well,
yeah.
Bottom line, this one right here?
No, it starts off with, let me find it. Hold on. Oh, shoot. There was one about the GM.
Oh, I see what you said. I know what you said. Carlton says, Rick, it could have been better if we had a general manager, not I can't even say the name.
Ignoramus.
Ignoramus. Yes. Go ahead.
Carlton, come on, man. Get your head out of your backside. This guy put together a Super Bowl quality roster. Okay.
Now,
I understand it. They are a Super Bowl quality roster. Give them an offseason together. Watch and see what happens. Yes, Peter. I'm telling you, look, let me ask you something. Who brought in Devin White? Who brought in
Jason Light?
Right. Who brought it? I mean, look at this whole team. Look, first of all, he had his hands tied behind his back for the first, 2 coaches that he had. He got saddled with them. He didn't have a choice. He didn't get to do what he wanted, and they kept changing systems, changing schemes, doing different things to him. He didn't have a chance he's picking for one coach, then they change systems and go to a different one. So now he's got all these players from a different coach that were more for that system. So what do they do with this one? Now this team's not performing well. So what do? Oh, they get rid of that coach and bring in another system. And he's drafting for all the wrong systems.
I agree.
All right. Now he's got his own guy in, and holy crap. Guess what happens? They may make the playoffs. You think he's an ignoramus? Let me tell you something. He got his coach in here, and they're having the best freaking season that they've had in a long time. You guys are not recognizing this. You're sitting in the middle of the best freaking season they've had in like 15 years, and you're bitching about it.
Well, because again, the expectations were raised, and the talent-wise, the talent level here is a lot better than it was in previous years.
And they're playing better.
I guess they are to a certain
No, guess they were 5-7 last year.
Okay, but there have been points of this year that I've talked about where they get off to slow starts. I get it, the Rams and KC, but Chicago, you lose to Chicago. You're barely prepared for the Saints. You get your doors blown off.
No argument.
You actually played better in the first game than you played before that. And you had Antonio Brown that you added to the offense. So I can understand it. I get it. And I know exactly what you're saying. We're going to take a look around. We're going to keep this in perspective. They are 7-5, and they absolutely have the opportunity to.
And they just lost to two of the best freaking teams by 3 points.
Right. But
okay.
Thing is, they had every opportunity to win both of those games, especially the Rams game, if they didn't go away from the running game. And that's what
Peter, you're sitting here saying the Raiders hung tough with the Chiefs. And then, when the Bucs hang tough with the Chiefs, what do you say? Well, they should have won that game. Well, I mean, come on.
To me, the Raiders are a little bit more balanced. Okay. And on top of it, I get what you're saying. KC is a top team, but if you want to be a top upper echelon team, you can't continue to do the same things you're doing. I get it. You did it against the Chicago Bears. You did it against the Saints. Hell, you did it against the Rams. Why are we seeing the same thing versus Kansas City? Why does this team come out flat? Why does this team take so long to make adjustments?
That's a good question. I'd like those answers too.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. You're doing the same thing over and over again. Like I can accept it if it's a one or twice thing. Like, penalties are killing you. You're still having a problem with pre-snap penalties yesterday. Guys being offsides, shooting yourselves in the foot. Playing one-on-one coverage, offense getting off to a slow start. It's a combination of the stuff, and the fans out there have seen this team play better, and they expect better because the talent level is better.
But when you say the Raiders, you just said the Raiders are more balanced. They're 6-5.
Right, they're 6-5, but the Bucs are more talented than they are, and yet the Raiders still beat the Chiefs.
One of the games, the Raiders beat the Chiefs.
Okay, and they nearly beat them twice.
And we nearly beat them the one time we played them.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, this is the thing. It's this. Let's build up unrealistic expectations and expect it all right now because the Super Bowl's in Tampa. It has to happen now.
I don't think it's unrealistic when you're saying the Super Bowl roster. When you're saying it's a Super Bowl roster, it's not unrealistic.
So they have a Super Bowl quality roster. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
So then you signed Gronkowski to a 1-year contract. You signed Fournette to a 1-year contract. You signed Brady to a 2-year contract. You signed Antonio Brown to a 1-year contract. What is the organization saying to me?
They're giving it a shot. Yeah, they're going for it.
All right, then.
Yeah, so how many of these people you think are coming back? I mean, the Patriots did this year after year. Listen, you're correct about this. They've got to run the ball more. There's no doubt about that, okay? If they run the ball more, they're going to have a more effective passing game. The middle of the field is clogged up by linebackers because you don't run the ball. Mm-hmm. All right, that's basic. Why are you running play action passes when you don't run the ball? Okay, why is it that 6 out of 67 plays you run motion when you got a speed team? Yeah. Listen, there are things that just don't make sense, that are basic, that are I don't know what's going on, but and people want to blame Leftwich, you want to blame Brady, whoever's doing the play calling. The bottom line is this: Bruce Arians is the head coach. This is on him. The buck stops there.
Yep.
And we can talk about anything else, all these other issues, and we get ourselves all worked up. And the bottom line is this: Bruce Arians is not leading this team to its potential. What's happening is the system that is being run is not. You don't have the right quarterback for this system. You've got, I don't know any quarterback that would work in this system where you just refuse to run the ball. I don't know who could do that. I don't know.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work consistently. It doesn't, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you can do that.
They run the ball.
They run the ball too. Of course they do. Of course.
They went and drafted a running back. Hello.
Exactly. And they got
the math.
Exactly. Rick Hughes here from the cheap seats. What's cooking in the South? Brady was brought in to bridge the gap in those one-score losses. We had so many of the last couple of years. How many one-score games did we lose with Jameis at the helm? Even with all the picks, if you watch the tape, Brady isn't always making the right reads and hitting the open guys. Blame all around, a legitimate offseason, and I think a lot of those issues wouldn't be happening.
Exactly.
I agree with that, but I think it's what you said that kind of ticks a lot of fans off is Bruce Arians isn't getting the full potential out of the team, and I'm not sure. Even if they do make the playoffs, a lot of people will be satisfied. Okay, to make the playoffs, you come back next year. You got a lot of decisions to make, so it may not necessarily be the team that is this year.
I don't know that it will be the same team.
Right. A self-inflicted wounds, not good play calling. Arians is a good deflector.
Right.
Says, what happens next year with a year together? I can answer for you. Arians will still throw the ball deep and not run it. Paul, the way Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods torched us with golf, we should be doing that every week with our guys. Yep. Paul says, but if the offense relies on after the snap, not pre-snap reads, that takes continuity and chemistry. Hard to do with no offseason. While I don't like the offense, it can only be a bit better with timing growth between Brady and the receivers, learning each tendencies and where they should be. Carlton says, time, 7 years, too much time for light. Rick, you lose, sir. Next contestant, forever clear skies. Rick, says somebody, and BA
says somebody.
He's a swindler. I'll tell you what. Go ahead. I'll give you your final thoughts, and we got to get Liam Mitchell on here. Then I'm going to get out of here for the night. But your final thoughts here, Rick.
Okay, my final thoughts are look, guys, your expectations are pretty much the biggest reason you're unhappy with this team. You're sitting in a situation where, listen, the Buccaneers most likely are going to the playoffs. You're going to get to watch a playoff game for the first time in how long? I don't know. It's like 15 years, right? All right. You're going to get to watch a playoff game. You're going to get to watch playoff football. You're going to get to see this team improve to the point. They're going to be 3 or 4 games better than they were last year. And you're bitching. And they did it without an offseason. And to me, the problem, it's silly. At the beginning of this year, Peter, what did you predict? What did you predict for their final record?
I said 13-3, and they'd be the first team to win the Super Bowl in their home stadium. And I thought,
13-3.
Yeah.
All right. So if they go 11-5, all right. Well, you know what? You got excited. You missed by a couple of games. Give them an off season, they probably would have been 13-3. Mm-hmm. All right. So to me, everybody is, I get it. I get the frustration with the beginning of games, the way the games start. I get it. But your expectations were that they signed a Lombardi trophy to the roster when they put pen to ink with Brady. And it doesn't work that simple. Okay. It's not that easy. All right. Execution. Everybody goes, well, they're just not executing well. What does it tell you when all of these guys are that good and they're not executing well? It tells you there's a little something else going on. All right, the chemistry isn't quite there. Give it a little bit of time. I've seen everything from people blaming AB, which is hilarious to me. Okay, but people blaming AB, people blaming, Leftwich, people blaming Arians, people blaming the defense, people blaming the offense, people blaming the running backs, people blaming. It's everybody. Mike Evans running the wrong routes. Basically, the only person not getting blame is Godwin. Okay, he's about him and Gronkowski are about the only two that aren't getting blamed.
Right.
And you know what? Everybody's got a little piece of what's right, but the bottom line is all these great pieces aren't working together quite right yet. And when they get to be doing that, watch out. Okay, but right now you're looking at a team who's so much better than last year. Enjoy it a little bit.
I'm not saying they're better than last year, but I'm saying the same things that are coming up keep on creeping in.
I agree with you.
So that's where the frustration goes. You can't necessarily enjoy the 7-5 because first you think they should be better in 7-5. You could definitely make a case for that. And then on top of it, the same things that are costing them games last year are doing the same thing this year.
These games are a little different this year than last year. I don't know that it's the same things. I don't. Jameis was throwing short passes over the middle that were getting picked off constantly. There were tons of pick sixes. Not when Brady's getting picked off, there are these Hail Mary ridiculous throws that I don't know what the hell he's doing. Okay. So I don't know what's happening when it comes to that, but it's not the same thing that was happening with Winston. I can promise you that.
Well, I would say that's the same thing would be the balance to the offense. That's my biggest thing. That's my biggest beef.
I agree. But you when you brought Arians in, when you brought in no risk at no biscuit, you didn't say, oh, yeah, we're bringing in a coach who's known for balance. I mean, you knew that wasn't going to happen. So, okay, that's what you get. It's just gotten more out of whack. The balance has gotten more out of whack. I don't know what's happening when it comes to that. When he blames Brady, he needs to stop and say, you know what? I'm the head coach. If Brady's going to keep calling bad plays, that's on me.
Right.
Okay. So he needs to accept responsibility. Absolutely. He needs to do that. But I'm sorry. The thing is, this is not rocket science. All right. The team is better. Everybody's mad and upset and unhappy and griping about this team like they're 5-7, and they're 7-5 heading into the easiest part of their schedule, probably going to run off a few games here and go to the playoffs. Okay, guys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably playoff bound.
But that's, to me, I'm in the same breath here. I don't think that's enough. I don't think it's enough. Not
it's enough for now.
Well, I mean,
okay.
You're just settling for it. I mean, you're not settling. This organization told
everyone settling for growth, and then I want growth again next year.
They're not settling for growth. They made a decision to go away from a 26-year-old quarterback to a 43-year-old quarterback that has a propensity to win Super Bowls and win playoff games. You're not getting a quarterback, and you're not getting all these weapons to go in the first round and be bounced out.
I didn't say that, did I?
But
I said you go in, you win one round this year, you go win the Super Bowl next year. That's not good enough because they didn't win it in Tampa. Listen, man, I'm going to be happy if they go to the playoffs this year. And then if they win one game in the playoffs this year, I'm happy. And they go win the Super Bowl next year. Man, that was a great run.
Well, I think we kind of differ on that from the standpoint of, again, you invested all this money to go in and win it all. And if the expectations are of that, and that's what the organization is telling you, and you don't follow through on it, expect fans to be disappointed because that's what they were told. Maybe not in the sense of the organization coming out, Bruce Arians saying we're going to win a Super Bowl, but with the moves, the corresponding moves in the offseason, and then also adding AB in the middle of the season, and to a certain degree with this team being one of the most talented. We had these talks every night of how talented they could be offensively and defensively.
And they should. And Peter, let me join you with this and then I'll go. Okay. Yeah. Listen, you and I both agree on one thing. Mm-hmm. There is no excuse for a lack of productivity with this offense.
I agree.
Having said that, I'm so glad the Bucs are 7-5, hitting the easiest part of their schedule and are probably going to the playoffs. It's not one till it's one. They're not in the playoffs till they're in the playoffs. But that's what it looks like. And you know what? I haven't felt like this in a long time. I haven't seen this in a long time. Go freaking Bucs.
Okay, man. I love it. Let me go ahead and fire those candidates.
Have a good one, brother.
All right, brother. Good stuff. You chimed back in there. He's trying to come back on the show. I seen you. Continuously abandoning the damn run, taking Rojo out. Carlton Cook with the lead, adding more games. Rick, exactly, Pete, the same thing. They aren't learning from when you have a stacked roster and a veteran head coach. No more excuses. Carlton, he had Adele as a primary back for real, man. I know you're talking about Ogumbe. I don't even know what his name is now. Super Bowl or bust, dude. That's exactly what I've been saying. Seattle's defense is looking good. Oh, wait, it's the Eagles. Ron, they may not even get into the playoffs, yet we are mentioning the unknown. That's what we do here. Peter H. Blake, you're the only sane person, bro. Appreciate that, Carlton, but Rick has his points. Everybody has a point on this show. Again, that's what we do here on the Sports Web. Just for the record, I am happy for where we are compared to last season. But when you have been through what we have as a fan base, it gets very frustrating watching the same winnable games slip away in the same old fashion. Fix the obvious things that aren't really working. Build on what that is. The whole every game is like Groundhog Day as far as game planning is frustrating. Good stuff, Paul. Thanks a lot for tuning in tonight. Let's go out to YouTube extraordinaire, Mr. Liam Mitchell. Welcome to the Evolution. Your thoughts on this Kansas City loss? What stuck out to you besides the obvious thing of Tyreek Hill going over 200 yards of receiving in the first quarter?
Peter, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on first and foremost. It's disappointing for sure. 7-5, 8-4 would be much better. So yeah, first and foremost, I'm just not happy with this coaching staff, to be honest with you, man. I mean, I don't really understand looking at the Tyreek Hill thing. One-on-one coverage, Carlton Davis he's a premier corner in this league, in my opinion. But without help over the top, he doesn't have the straight line speed that Tyreek Hill does, and they're not getting any pressure on Patrick Mahomes. You're putting Carlton Davis in a terrible position. I just didn't understand that game plan, and because the offense couldn't move the ball. I mean, how many times did we see the Bucs in those first 4 drives in a 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and they're throwing into no man's land. They're throwing a deep ball to AB on a wheel route. Why aren't we running on at least one of those 3rd and manageable downs?
Liam, you don't even have a running back in the backfield. You're going empty backfield, which basically tells everybody on the defense they're not going to run the ball or have no threat to run the ball. That has been my whole antithesis of this argument tonight. The play calling, the coaching, everything like that. It just doesn't make any sense when you're 3rd and 3 and manageable. Be under center, or if you're going to be in shotgun, go with the Fournette if you trust him than a Jones in the pass protection, or put a running back in there that you trust and put out there the threat, or give the defense something to account for. And yet they continue to do this stuff. You know, I want to go to a bright spot here, and I do this because his father just tuned in. How about Shaq Barrett? You know, everybody has been talking about the sack numbers being down, but once again, he shows that he's getting to the quarterback. He got to the quarterback yesterday, caused a fumble. William Golston recovers it, and that defense made a big play to basically put the Bucs back into this game, right?
It really did, Peter. I mean, you take away that first quarter once they finally made the adjustments, because the offense wasn't running any clock and they were just throwing the defense right back out there. Over time throughout the game, the Bucs did start to get some pressure on Mahomes. JPP was getting some pressure on Sue, all these guys. And it was great to see Shaq Barrett finally make a big play. It's been really weeks since we've heard his name, and it was just really good to see.
Yeah, it was really good to see. And again, you know, when that defense is causing turnovers, you know, that was the big thing for me is you continue to go one-on-one coverage with Carlton Davis. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, he's a top 10 corner, and he's played like that at certain points, but that was a mismatch nightmare with Tyreek Hill. And I don't understand why it's so long to adjust.
Yeah, no, I just don't understand it. I mean, Carlton Davis is a great corner. I think he's one of the best corners in the NFL. But when Patrick Mahomes has all day to throw, he has no help over the top. Antoine Winfield's nowhere to be found. And again, that's not his fault either. This is all schematics. This is all in the coaching. Tyreek Hill would burn anybody.
Yeah.
Darrelle Revis. I mean, who can keep up with Tyreek Hill one-on-one with all day to throw and no help over the top? I mean, you're putting Davis in just an awful position.
Yeah, maybe Deion Sanders. I don't know. It'll be a good race. That's for sure. Both of those guys can run. That's for sure. So looking at it from the standpoint, much has been made about this offense and their struggles. Once again, they started out with 3 and outs, and then the run pass differential yesterday. Coach Arians comes out today. This has been a big topic of debate tonight. I had a debate with Al Keck on this. 9 carries for 66 yards for Ronald Jones. Arians comes out today, says we need to give him the ball 20 touches. Why is it taking this coaching staff and BA to understand that this is your best chance to win with Jones?
Yeah, I don't understand it. It's a head scratcher. Ronald Jones played only 36% of the snaps yesterday. You know, I heard Rick earlier say that Fournette is a better blocker and he's a better pass catcher out of the backfield. That I will agree with. And when you put yourself in a 17-0 hole, I can understand why you're not running as much. But they should have been running in the first place, and they weren't. And just throughout the game, the offense, I don't understand it. These taking a deep shot practically every other play is not Tom Brady's style. It's just, you got to run the ball. I don't understand why they're not running the ball early on in the game.
Exactly, and because when you run the ball, then basically it keeps those third downs manageable. We're on with Liam Mitchell. Go ahead and tell everybody what you're doing with YouTube right now here on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television, powered by 320solar.com.
Yeah, guys, come check me out at Bucs Archive with Liam Mitchell on YouTube. I do tons of Buccaneers history videos on there. I do Buccaneers player highlights all the time, old players, new players. I'll have probably highlights of pretty much every single player on the team at the end of the season. And then you can also check me out at the Fan to Fan Network. I'm the Bucs YouTube conglomerate guy over there.
Oh, and I think we lost him there. So we'll try to get him back there. Oh, let's go back out. Let's get him off of there. I think he froze. So let's see if we can get him back on here. Let's see. When Bowles puts him in a position to succeed, he has been solid this year. The KC game was not fair for Davis. Anyone would get torched by Hill one-on-one. I think we got him back now. Let's see if we got him back. There he is. Wi-Fi was messed up there. Go ahead and finish your point there, Liam. And he's frozen there. So we'll go back to him when he's unfrozen. Sometimes that happens. That happens in live television here on Facebook. Of course, join the 67,000 following we have here on Facebook. Of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and that Bucs Report Twitch channel. I think we got it up and running. Let's see if we got him. We got you, Liam?
Can you hear me? I can hear you fine.
All right, there we go. Go ahead and finish your point.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, just come check me out on YouTube at Bucs Archive with Liam Mitchell, and then on the Fan to Fan Network. You can check me out on their live streams on YouTube, on Twitch, and then you can see the articles I write on their website at fantofannetwork.com. And then definitely come join the YouTube channel. Post all kinds of stuff over there.
Absolutely. I need a new intro. So you got 2 weeks now. You got 2 weeks until they face the Vikings. And I don't mean to be a slave driver about this, but damn, and I love the work you guys. Go and check it out. Liam Mitchell Archives. I stayed up and I was doing the pre-show, all the videos and stuff. And I stayed up and I got just asphyxiated on the work that you did with Kansas City and going back to the previous games and forgot it. And it's just, it brings back so many great memories of watching Bucs football, and you absolutely capture that. So definitely check out the YouTube channel. He does a splendid job on the intros, and we're trying to get more intros for him for Bucs Report. With Brady, and it seems like the dysfunction of this offense with 2 interceptions yesterday, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Do you feel like there is some friction growing between Brady and an Arians in this offensive staff?
I don't think there's a ton of friction between those two. I think they're both men and they're going to figure it out. And, they said that Tom's the one making the calls. He's picking his favorite plays, and they're going to figure it out. You've been asking this whole show, Peter, are you disappointed with the Bucs being 7-5? There's a difference between downright unhappiness and disappointment. Am I disappointed that the Bucs are 7-5? Yeah, a little bit, because I think this is the best roster in the NFL. Am I happy we're 7-5? Yeah, I'm happy we're 7-5, because as Rick said, we've been terrible for years. But if we win anything less than 11 games and say we go one and done in the playoffs, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Because I compare it to like a math test almost. Like if I'm a math student and I know I'm an A+ student and I walk away with a B- in the class, am I unhappy? No, I passed the class, but I'm a little disappointed because I know I'm better than that.
Yeah. Great. That's where I'm at with this. I'm honestly, and again, the Bucs 7-5. I think they could have won some games this year that they have let fall by the wayside. That's neither here nor there. They have a big test coming up, of course, the bye next week, and then after that, the Minnesota Vikings at home to finish out this 3-game homestand, which has been disappointing. You lose 2 games there that were easily winnable. You could say the Rams game most likely, maybe not the Chiefs game. But you couldn't get the stops. You had turnovers in that third quarter, which has been the bugaboo. Now you have the Minnesota Vikings coming in. They have been hot. They're definitely in playoff contention with Dalvin Cook. And they relatively have an easy schedule. But at the end of the day, Liam, you definitely are going to have to play your games. You look at what happened yesterday with the Atlanta Falcons just absolutely crushing the Raiders, and a shocker. Any given Sunday, that's how it goes. And I feel like there are Sundays where the Bucs are not playing their best games and they're not playing their best brand of football. And that starts with the run game.
They need to wake up. I mean, we've been getting, I think they're losing 49-7 in the first quarter over the past month.
Yeah.
And you're immediately putting yourself in a hole. You're immediately messing up the game plan. You know what I mean? And they need to wake up. As you said, I think this is the most favorable stretch of their schedule, these final 4 games. They're all against losing teams. 3 of the 4 games are against an interim head coach. No. Obviously, Raheem Morris and Dirk Cutter. Wouldn't it be a spit in the face to let those guys beat us?
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, I think we should realistically, when you look at the rosters, the Bucs should easily sweep the rest of this roster. They should win out and finish 11-5.
They really should. They really should. But there's some doubt there, and we'll see what they do here in the next couple of weeks. What else did you see out of this game? Besides Patrick Mahomes just being tremendous? I mean, in your opinion, is he the MVP of the league this year?
I think he is. I really do. And, you know, again, I'll go back to Carlton Davis and Tyreek Hill. There was a couple of those plays where, especially the 3rd touchdown to Tyreek Hill, and then there was another one around midfield where I just shook my head and was like, how does Mahomes make that throw?
Yeah.
How on earth does he make that throw? And I just kind of said, Carlton's in great coverage. It's a perfect back shoulder throw, and Tyreek Hill came down with it. It was time and time again. I mean, even escaping sacks on a few of those plays, you just shake your head. It reminded me, I've only thought about that one other time watching Bucs games, and it was in 2011 against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers throwing these back shoulders to Jordy Nelson. I just shook my head and said, I don't know how do you defend that? And I mean, at some point, you do got to give credit where credit's due. Mahomes is ridiculous, and I think he's the best quarterback in the league right now. Him and Russ Wilson are probably up at the top.
Yeah, I don't know what Russell Wilson's doing tonight, but it looks like Seattle's having their way with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, you know, looking at playoff seeding, if the Bucs do win out, most likely they could be the 5th seed, which you think would be some type of advantage because you play the NFC East there. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Redskins, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, nothing to write home about right now. You're most likely could play the New York Giants, and Daniel Jones is hurt. So it's been a crazy season, especially in the NFC East. So all these games, of course, as always, are important. What else did you see from yesterday's game besides some of the things that we talked about? What did you kind of center on? Give me some positives out of this game. I gave you the Shaq stuff.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You like that, right?
I was just about to bring up the positives that I saw. You know, I think it was great to see Gronk have over 100 yards. I love that they at least kept fighting. It wasn't like the Saints game where they just sat down. You know, they were down 17-0 early, but they kept playing. And they really did have a chance there at the end of the game. They never quit. You got to love the fight there. Chris Godwin looked real good, had that spectacular 46-yard diving catch. He had 97 yards, came just shy of 100. And then I love the explosiveness out of Rojo. But as you always say, Peter, the victim of volume, 36% of the offensive snaps, he's not getting the ball enough.
Third leading rusher in the NFL, and I still don't get it. And again, you know, maybe he's not good in pass protection in the 4th quarter, but I seen Fournette last night blow blocks. I get it. Fournette is a better blocker. I've talked about it on the show. That's the reason why the Bucs went after him. It's a good problem to have. You always want 2 or 3 running backs in case you have an injury, knock on wood. And Fournette has been proven in the NFL to do it. Just this year, he's not getting it done. And when a player is getting it done like a Jones, I feel like you're missing out on those opportunities. And it's neither here nor there. He also made a big play, 37 yards. Talk about that. I mean, when is that Rojo, the victim of volume, highlight video coming out from Liam Mitchell? Because I want in on that.
Peter, that's going to be the second the season is over, whether it be in the regular season or after the playoffs. The first one I'm going to make is of Ronald Jones, who's just been an offensive stud for us this year. And do not worry, my friend, there is going to be the victim of volume. You know, I'll put you right up the front of the video. You know it's coming.
I love it. I'll just be a soundbite. I just want to be the on the whole thing. Anytime he's running, the victim of volume, and everybody's like, well, you got a crush on the guy. No, it's the fact of there's so much potential there where he's shown you that, and he's shown you that explosive nature. The Bucs haven't had that in a long time. Hell, they haven't had that since maybe Doug Martin. I think Warwick Dunn is probably the closest thing to having that explosive nature, but you have to give him the carries. And I think he's shown enough to get that. So we have to work on everything else. What was your thought on those 2 interceptions? One, Tony Romo definitely criticized. He said Mike Evans didn't go with a hot route, cut off his route or something along those lines. And Brady was trying to get rid of it. And of course it went off a player. And then the one to Scotty Miller, is that the type of play you want to go to Scotty Miller? Is that where you want to go to at that juncture?
No, I was actually really upset with that play. I texted my friends on the play. You know, it looked to me like both Miller and Evans had a one-on-one matchup. And, you know, he didn't get a lot of help. I know he got drilled right as he threw, so it affected the pass. But regardless, I think he should have been looking at Evans in that situation more than Miller. You know, that should have been where he's looking. But on a lot of those deep balls, Tom tends to look more towards Scotty Miller. But that was a massive play in the game. I'm surprised it's another one of those plays where, you know, it was 3rd and 15. You just had a massive throw over the middle of the field. You kind of figure, all right, let's settle down a second. Let's just hand the ball off here, slow down the game just a tad, and then figure it out from there. But they went for back-to-back shots, and it's just like it's a shot in the foot. It hurt. That was a huge play in the game, getting intercepted right there.
What do you think is the cause of all these pre-snap penalties, all these penalties in general? Although, you know, the refs yesterday with the JPP call, that was egregious. You shouldn't make that call at all. It's football at the end of the day. You're not going for the helmet, and yet the Bucs make a play, and then, of course, it gets called back. But what was your thoughts on the discipline of this team? Because it seems like, once again, you know, shooting yourself in the foot, self-destruct Bucs appeared again against the Chiefs.
Time and time again, it's just self-discipline. Those kind of penalties, good teams don't happen to good teams. You can't shoot yourselves in the foot, back yourselves up. It just makes for harder drives. And, you know, the stuff like JPP, I mean, if you, on the hands to the face, if you know me, I can't stand those kind of flags. I mean, I really don't think JPP did anything malicious. I don't think he was intending to hit him in the head. It looked to me like he was trying to knock the ball down because he was trying to maybe tip the ball off Mahomes' hands.
Yeah.
But the self-discipline, again, good teams, they don't shoot themselves in the foot with constant offsides penalties, encroachments, and false starts, and it cannot happen.
My next question is going to be for Wednesday night, but I'll ask you now, what is one thing that if you had an opportunity to talk to Coach Arians or even this team, what would you tell them to improve on in this bye week? I'll give you that hat where you get the opportunity to tell them, or what would you like to see them improve on besides the obvious after this bye week?
It's just, Bruce, can we please start fast? Get that I think he talked about it in his press conference, those first 15 plays. I mean, what are we doing all week with those first 15 plays? We should be scoring on our first drive every game. That's the goal. Get up quick and run the ball. I mean, we've talked about it this whole time. And when you got a 3rd and manageable, try throwing some runs in there. Or as you said, maybe put a back in the backfield. You know, don't have them spread out wide, empty set. It's just too obvious for these defenses. It's just starting fast, run the ball more, coach better. You're the best roster in the NFL.
You really do. Good stuff, Liam Mitchell. Okay, go ahead and promote yourself again, and we'll get you out of here for the night, my friend.
Yeah, guys, come check me out on YouTube at Bucs Archive with Liam Mitchell. You'll see all kinds of highlight videos there, cinematic type hype videos. And then come check me out at the Fan to Fan Network, where I'm the Buccaneers YouTube rep. Do live streams on YouTube, Twitch, and then you can check me out on the website at thefantofannetwork.com, where you can see the articles me and my buddy Chuck write on there. But definitely go check out the YouTube page.
All right, good stuff, Liam Mitchell. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. All right?
Thanks for having me on, Peter. Go Bucs.
All right, there you go. Good stuff. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons right there. We will try to get on Leo Haggerty on Wednesday. Of course, we will have former Buccaneer great Mr. Ricky Reynolds on at 9 o'clock. We'll get what he thought about Carlton Davis versus Tyreek Hill and this whole Buccaneer defense. Definitely want to tune in for that for 9 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll try to get Leo Haggerty on, and we'll take more phone calls tonight as the debate raged on between the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Thanks a lot to him. Of course, thanks to Liam Mitchell and, of course, Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats and all of you making this possible. I will go ahead and read these comments, and then I will get you out of here for the night. They are too young. Christopher says all the touchdowns were to Tyreek Hill. The defense just gave up field goals. The rest of the time, Paul says, great show tonight. Peter, love it. Thanks a lot, Paul, for tuning in. Atlanta always scares me a bit. No matter their record, we should win both, but I'm hoping to at least split with them. Good stuff. So with that in mind, guys, keep on tuning in to Bucs Report. Of course, the Al Keck Show will be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. I promise you we won't debate like that. It'll be more calm, but, you know, we always say 3 things here to start off the sports web. What are they? Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night. Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs Report. It's the Sports Lab. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet?
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up.
doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart till it's almost white. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.